This young man was born at the very bottom of society. No money, no power, in short, he had nothing in his hands. However, his chance to change his life opened when the era was launched. Lin Jai climbed the leaderboard through grinding and was only one step away from reaching the summit. Today was the day that would decide it. On the arena, as era's #1 warrior, nicknamed the Immortal War King, he faced Bai Li Changcheng, the sword saint by profession, ranked first on the swordsman leaderboard. Lin Jai genuinely had terrifying skill. His moves were flawless and his technique left no gaps. Each stroke aimed straight for vital points. He was like a hellborn fiend. Opposite him, Bai Li showed clear weakness. His defense collapsed quickly, leaving him unable to fight back. The weapon in Bai Li's hand was shattered by Lin Jai, and his health had fallen to the lowest possible level. Both the audience and the MC agreed the champion of the strongest path was about to appear. Lin Jai hoisted his heavy sword on his shoulder, stepped up to Bai Li with a satisfied smile, reaching out to help his opponent up in a noble gesture. It seemed this time I've won. I really lost. Bai Li swallowed a mouthful of blood-scented spit, then suddenly broke into a sly smile. No, I can't lose. How could I lose here? If I unleash that power, your effort won't matter at all. Then his broken sword was repaired, even stronger than before. The weapon's infinite durability effect activated, and the cost for that effect was 50,000 yuan. Lin Jai stared dumbfounded. Damn, Bai Li actually played pay to win right in the middle of the match. While he was still gawking, Bai Li lunged forward to attack. Lin Jai hurriedly pulled himself together to fight back, but the momentum between them seemed to have shifted. You're naive if you think effort alone can defy fate. You'll never understand, Bai Li's voice full of arrogance. And what followed happened so fast Lin Jai could hardly see his moves. That's because Bai Li spent another 900,000 yuan to activate instant teleport. He then appeared behind Lin Jai and spent an additional 1.2 million yuan to trigger the one-hit kill skill. Then Bai Li's blade pierced through Lin Jai's chest. A status window with a flashing red warning appeared before him, like the Grim Reaper coming to settle his fate. You have been defeated by Bai Li Changcheng. The loser's account will be permanently deleted and assets transferred to the winner. Lin Jai clenched his teeth in pain. He hadn't expected to lose this way. As his body slumped, he kept a bit of clarity and croaked at his opponent. Why did you betray me? Answer me, why would you cheat just to defeat me? Why betray our promise? Sorry, Lin Jai. Maybe we'll be brothers again in the next life. Bai Li didn't reply. He just coldly said sorry, then drove another blow into Lin Jai. With that final strike, there was nothing left he could do. The warning before Lin Jai changed again, this time stating he had lost the qualification to participate in competitions. Lin Jai felt his body disintegrating. He had actually failed, a defeat that left him unwilling to accept it. He was only one step away from touching the supreme throne of the era. This time he had poured his all in. Yet in the end, he utterly failed because of his opponent's baseness. Lin Jai vowed that if he could live again, he would use every means to climb that throne. Warning, you have lost player status. That was the last message Lin Jai read. Then, for some reason, he suddenly opened his eyes. The sensation of a sword piercing his chest was unbearably real, leaving his breathing in chaos. When he opened his eyes, Lin Jai was still gasping for breath. Then he discovered he was lying in a bedroom. Bro, why are you just lying there stiff on the floor, cosplaying a corpse? A voice shouted above him. Lin Jai glanced up. His pupils immediately widened to their limit, because the person in front of him was his sister, Tisai. 3 years earlier, she had fallen into a coma after a traffic accident. Without the full life support equipment in the ICU, survival would have been impossible. So Lin Jai had used all the prize money from the game to pay for his sister's medical bills. Yet now she stood before him, speaking loudly and energetically. Lin Jai sprang up, grabbed her shoulders and shook her relentlessly. Sister, are you okay? Weren't you lying in a hospital bed? This time Tisai's eyes popped. She shoved her brother to the floor, climbed onto his chest and started beating him. Damn it, did you stay up all night and turn your brain to mush? Who sat up all night in front of the screen waiting for the server to open, huh? Why pretend you forgot now? His sister's words made Lin Jai even more confused. Waiting all night for the server to open. He anxiously asked what the date and year were. Not understanding what was wrong with her brother, Tisai still answered. Today is the open beta launch of Era Online, you silly brother. Her words made Lin Jai want to shout a curse. If so, today was June 22, 5 years ago, and he had been reborn. Instinctively, he clutched his chest where Bai Li's sword had pierced him. When he was betrayed by him, he had felt utter despair and blamed heaven for cutting off his path. Who would have thought that fate's scales would unexpectedly tip in his favor? His life, his game, everything had a chance to start over. Lin Jai sat on the floor, trembling with a jumble of emotions. Although he had failed once, he had the opportunity to try again. If so, Lin Jai swore that this time he would by any means stand at the top of the era and repay the debt of his past life. He calculated silently that with 3 years' savings from work plus 100,000 yuan borrowed from loan sharks, he could buy a gaming helmet and start over. The thing that looked like a motorcycle helmet was actually the VR headset for the game era. Over time, the game, developing alongside the real world, caused a sensation. Era opened a world of mystery, infinity, and majestic beauty. Everyone was drawn to exploring this high-quality virtual reality world. In his previous life in the era, Lin Jai was known as the immortal war god. Through intelligence and relentless effort, with ordinary gear and perfect technique, he rose continually. People praised him as a skilled player. Among amateur players, it wasn't long before Lin Jai became famous. That battle could have earned Lin Jai the title of the strongest, yet he was betrayed by his closest friend, Bai Li Changcheng. Perhaps Bai Li's desire for the title blinded him. Lin Jai truly wondered when Bai Li had begun planning to betray him. But those things no longer mattered now. It was better to seize the chance to restart his life. So he put on the game headset. A flash of light streaked before his eyes, transporting him into the virtual world. As in his previous life, the first task after starting was choosing a class. Previously, the official Era Online team had never released any gameplay guides or reviews, so all new players entered completely ignorant of the world and had to discover everything themselves. But for Lin Jai, a veteran player of 5 years, Era held almost no secrets anymore. Power progression and exploration would be much easier. That was his greatest advantage in this life. Reborn, Lin Jai resolved to accomplish what he hadn't in his last life. Naturally, the most important goal was to reach the game's summit and become the undisputed strongest. I, the king of technique, have returned. Back in Newbie Village this time, Lin Jai was no longer the clueless guy he had been. The looks other players gave him were indescribable. No way in what year are there still warrior players? Have you been drinking water or what? This is the lowest class in the whole system. Even a dog would shake its head in disgust. He doesn't even have a decent weapon. And he walks around acting all macho. What's this poor ghost pretending to be? Lin Jai pretended not to hear the whispering about him. He had indeed chosen the old path, becoming a warrior with pitifully low starting stats. Lin Jai remembered a conversation with Bai Li 2 years earlier, when he had said that even if reborn again, he would still pick this class. Bai Li had found that hard to understand. To him, only low-level players chose warrior. They couldn't afford expensive gear, couldn't wield flashy magic, and relied on tough skin and grit to charge the front line and soak damage. Put bluntly, warriors were born to be human shields. If you really want to experience the game's strongest playstyle, you should pick swordsmen like me. Elegant, critical hits. Bai Li had said then, but Lin Jai still deeply believed the stronger path belonged to warriors. They possessed astonishing vitality in adversity. The tougher the enemy, the stronger they became, striving to overcome every peril just to survive. Only then could one become an immortal war god, a title reserved for players who survived countless grueling battles. But are you sure that title will even exist after today? Bai Li asked then. I don't know, let's bet. When I return today, I'll become the immortal war god. After the memory, Lin Jai returned to Newbie Village. Warriors naturally had a health advantage. Even poor ones wouldn't be one-shotted by small bosses. Moreover, after completing quests, players can advance the warrior class, which was the class advantage he'd eyed in his previous life. Berserker warriors convert health into combat power. For wealthy players, they only consider the classes that dealt the most or coolest damage, like mages, swordsmen, hunters, or assassins. Thus, 9 out of 10 people on the streets were mostly combinations of those damage-dealing classes. However, monster data was extremely unbalanced in the early game. Some of them couldn't even stand their ground, let alone deal damage. Warriors were different. They had a survival advantage from the start, and Lin Jai could use his knowledge of the game mechanics to offset this class's weaknesses. Very quickly, the first quest, Wet Feet Beginner, was released, requiring Lin Jai to register with Olet in Mio Town within 5 minutes. He was the newbie guide NPC. Seeing his stern look didn't match the ragged clothes at all. Lin Jai suddenly felt nostalgic. He hadn't expected to meet this old man again. Before he could speak, someone started shouting, "Hey, you worthless warrior, you picked on the wrong rich player." He looked up to see a level 2 holy knight named Ballet. "You want to go through here? I, in the name of Holy Light, will collect 1 coin from you or you won't pass," the man said. Holy Knight was one of the most favored classes for pay-to-win players early on. A versatile class combining damage, healing, and crowd control. The server had only been up half an hour and Balai was already level 2, classic tactics exposed on the forums in Lin Jai's last life. After creating a character, they spent a lot of money buying newbie experience packs, then exploited the level gap to bully weaker players and specialized in collecting protection fees. Balai's arrogance was truly obnoxious. Lin Jai knew people like that actually understood nothing about playstyle and didn't even have proper gear. In short, paper tigers. The best reward for each new player was 10 pocket coins. Even taking a copper from each person added up. But he had no intention of letting this guy profit even a single coin. "What do I have to give you money for?" he retorted. Balai, perhaps meeting a sharp-tongued opponent for the first time, snapped back loudly. "Because I'm stronger than you, delete your account and make a new one, idiot." Saying this, he placed his hand on his sword hilt. Just as the sword was drawn from its sheath, Lin Jai caught his wrist. His grip was incredibly strong, preventing the other man from moving no matter what he tried. That was one of the warrior's starting talents. Grip strength enhancement, meant to reduce the chance of dropping a weapon, now used to nullify Balai's resistance. Grip strength enhancement. Balai couldn't believe his ears. Was that the supposedly useless talent even dogs avoid, only for holding weapons tighter? The more the other man protested, the more Lin Jai increased his grip. For others it might be useless, but to him it was the strongest talent. He applied a bit more force, and the weapon in Balai's hand dropped. The man who had been bullying others now could only whine when he saw Lin Jai disarm him with bare hands. This was the unexpected effect of grip strength enhancement, the talent everyone had dismissed as useless. The effect grows stronger as the strength attribute increases. If your strength is higher than an opponent's, you can easily use it to disarm them. Now Lin Jai at level 1 could disarm Balai with bare hands, proving that the level 2 Holy Knight was weaker than a new character and hadn't invested any points in strength. Clearly a clueless player. Moreover, no one except Lin Jai likely knew that in later skill upgrades, grip strength enhancement would grow much stronger, becoming one of the class's top talents. After class advancement, increased grip would evolve into Titan Grip. This is a legendary skill famed for wielding a greatsword two-handed with one hand. However, that evolution requires choosing grip strength enhancement when building the character. While Lin Jai was still lost in thought, people around him suddenly scattered, and several guards appeared before him. Seeing this, Balai behind him began to wail and act the victim. "You're finished. Causing trouble in a safe zone, you'll be executed by the guards right here. I, in the name of Holy Light, swear that this Lin Jai assaulted someone in public. It's him." Lin Jai showed no fear. Even the spear-wielding guards in Newbie Village could one-shot a level 1 or 2 new player. Still, he calmly admitted he was the one who had assaulted Balai. Hearing that, the man grinned smugly. "See, he admitted it, punish him hard. But this was an act of self-defense," Lin Jai continued, likely laying out the circumstances in detail afterward. So the guards suddenly turned their attention straight to the other man. Seeing the guards preparing to strike down on him, Balai panicked. He had spent 100,000 yuan buying the large newbie VIP pack. Was he really going to be punished and have his account deleted here? But NPCs are still just NPCs, acting strictly by rules, and anyone causing trouble in a safe zone is treated by them as the perpetrator of injustice. On the other hand, even if someone used ruthless tricks against the instigator, they wouldn't be punished and might even be compensated. Lin Jai knew this better than anyone, so he remained calm when the guards arrived. As expected, Balai was punished afterward, and Lin Jai was awarded 1 gold coin, according to the system rules. Balai was furious to the point of seeing stars, and no matter how much the others disliked Lin Jai, after witnessing how he turned the tables, they didn't dare pick on him anymore. With his spoils of war, a single coin, Lin Jai strolled away. Earlier he hadn't yet spoken to Alit because Balai had cut him off. Only then did he walk over to him, then sat down casually. "Long time no see, Alit," Lin Jai said first. Confusion showed on the old man's wrinkled face. "Young adventurer, you recognize me? This server has only been open a day. We're not just acquaintances, we were almost close friends. Alit, it's been 5 years. Alit naturally thought Lin Jai was joking and didn't take him seriously. He wasn't offended and simply did his duty. He gave Lin Jai a newbie reward pack. There were 3 choices, choose one only: 10 coins, 3 basic health potions, or a course slaying sword specialized for swordsmen. Onlookers said even an idiot would pick the money, especially for a poor warrior. Those 10 coins were worth at least 100,000 on the black market. But Lin Jai's choice went against the crowd. He picked the 4th option because in his previous life it took 3 years for people to discover a hidden choice in newbie quests. Alit looked surprised. The crowd began to curse him. "Are you insane? Where's this 4th option coming from?" Facing the old man's probing gaze, Lin Jai calmly said, The campfire before dawn will be extinguished twice. Impossible, where did you hear that? Alet's expression grew even more incredulous. When the black moon sinks into the eternal night, forgotten things will return, slipping through the cracks of time. From the ashes, the flame that rises is both relic of the old gods and the dawn of a new era. Lin Jai continued slowly. Do you remember the code you once gave me? Alet. It was as if time rewound to the previous life. 5 years ago, Lin Jai had completed a hidden quest to protect Alet's family from monsters. At that time, he was so moved he kept crying, saying he didn't know how to thank me. Lin Jai, I'm just a newbie guide NPC, so I really don't have any significant rewards to give. But if even the smallest ability, if one day you need my help, give me this signal. Even if I change identity and the system no longer recognizes me, I will always remember you. You are the lifesaver. What Lin Jai just recited was the signal Alet told you in your previous life. A flash of surprise crossed his eyes, but he quickly composed himself. Of course, Alet couldn't remember past life events, but now he was certain Lin Jai was very important to him. That satisfied the trigger condition for the hidden quest. Lin Jai had indeed unlocked the fourth reward pack, not a newbie reward, but a return player reward. In his previous life, Lin Jai was one step away from becoming the strongest, but in the end he was beaten by unfair tricks. Though injustice is common in this world, he refused to accept it. With that in mind, Lin Jai decisively chose the fourth reward, and received a primal talent stone. This item grants him one additional talent. The crowd around him kept staring with mouths agape. What, that's a selectable talent gem? Each account can only bind a talent once at the start. This was something you couldn't buy even by burning money. Lin Jai gripped the stone tightly. In this life, he was determined to be the strongest, and he needed to start with the best possible foundation. This hidden quest was the first step toward changing his destiny. Thus, Lin Jai used the stone to select his second talent, Oath of the Sword. Lead explained that Oath of the Sword was a talent created by the legendary sword, Saint Casimil. The practitioner would be considered a sworn bearer of the blade, gaining supernatural swordsmanship abilities, but being restricted to fighting with a sword for the rest of their life. It was a massive limitation, so he couldn't help but confirm once more if Lin Jai was truly certain about this decision. Of course I am, he replied. A moment ago, Lin Jai had been the envy of the crowd, but now his choice turned him into a laughingstock. They started whispering, ha, he actually chose Oath of the Sword. Are there still fools nowadays who pick swordsmanship as their second talent, choosing a low-tier, trashy weapon and being arrogant enough to master it? What a noob. Unlike them, Outlet didn't disparage Lin Jai's choice. He stated that the strongest weapon wasn't the sword itself, but the person wielding it. Therefore, he firmly believed that someone as steadfast as him would achieve great things. After saying his thanks, Lin Jai took his leave. In his previous life, he had to reach level 30 to obtain a second talent. Yet in this life, he had managed to grasp it right from the very beginning. Now, his combat power was already extremely high, allowing him to level up rapidly, bringing him one step closer to the throne of the strongest. The initial advantage gained by spending money would diminish rapidly after level 5. Those who played the pay-to-win style from the start had no choice but to pour more and more money into the game if they wanted to maintain their lead. But someone like him, who relied on grinding and skills to level up, was the most stable and reliable path. Even a crude iron sword could get the job done. A sword didn't possess the explosive power of a heavy mace, nor the suppressive force of a spear, and it was nowhere near as flashy or unique as a magic staff. However, apart from him, no one else realized that a plain-looking sword was actually the weapon that demanded the most genuine, skillful mastery. In Lin Jai's previous life, he had chosen the talent to enhance his grip strength from the very start, then selected an iron sword and headed out to slay monsters, beginning his climb. But this time, he had the extra initial talent stone he'd obtained. This inadvertently caused him to skip the crude iron sword, leaving Lin Jai currently weaponless. This meant that if he made different choices in this life, the story would veer in a completely different direction. And as the story took a different turn, perhaps the outcome would change too. A name appeared in Lin Jai's mind, Bailey. He told himself that he needed to become even stronger before they met again. The bitter end he faced in his previous life had to be completely reversed in this one. Lin Jai sought out a beginner weapon stall by the roadside. A few people were huddled there, looking at the wares, but in their eyes, it was all just a pile of scrap metal. Lin Jai approached slowly and picked up a low-quality wooden stick to examine. It was nothing more than a stick that hadn't undergone any processing, with an attack power of 1. Its method of attack was to bash, so it should have been categorized as a club. Yet, according to the information, this item was classified as both a sword and a club. This sparked a thought in Lin Jai's mind. Please, please let me go. I'm just an ordinary player. Trading gear is my only source of income, the vendor pleaded desperately. However, the players didn't stop, continuing to smash the stall and curse loudly. Ordinary player, a coward who doesn't even know how to fight. How interesting. You should crawl back to playing house. Why are you being such an eyesore in this game? Lin Jai wasn't one to meddle in other people's business, but he found their actions so grating that he finally spoke up. A player trying to make a living is still a player. No one is higher or nobler than anyone else. There's no food that isn't prepared by a chef, and no potion that isn't crafted by an alchemist. If it weren't for weapons made by blacksmiths, I'm afraid most combat-oriented players wouldn't even dare to step out of the city gates. Having said that, Lin Jai paused, turned to the vendor and asked how much the stick in his hand cost. The vendor was stunned, then stammered that it was 1 copper. Meanwhile, the guy who had just been lectured by him showed clear irritation. "Who do you think you are?" Lin Jai answered. "A warrior." The result was as expected. The opponent burst into raucous laughter. "Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. A warrior. Are you joking?" Lin Jai couldn't be bothered with him. He took 1 copper from the compensation he received from Balai and tossed it to the vendor. The wooden stick now belonged to him. He had intended to leave immediately, but the guy he'd just teased clearly didn't plan on letting him go that easily. "You ruined my fun just now. Didn't you see I was doing a good deed?" Lin Jai looked at him, feeling like he'd just heard a joke. "A good deed? Are you referring to the way you were bullying others? Did you get scammed without even knowing it? You rookie warrior with that wooden stick in your hand. If it fell on the ground, it would definitely be worthless trash that no one would bother to pick up. And yet you wasted a gold coin on it. Still don't get it? That vendor is a con artist, you idiot." Just as he said, the young vendor had already packed his things and slipped away after earning the 1 gold coin. The guy didn't want to bother with Lin Jai anymore. He felt that if he'd been scammed, it was his own fault, so he and his lackeys left. Lin Jai naturally knew that every blacksmith shop in the beginner villages had wooden sticks, but even if they were free, no one would bother to take one. But new players were often ill-informed, so they would try to buy them for the low price of 1 copper if they could. That was why many stalls selling wooden sticks had popped up, with minimum prices that made beginners feel like they were getting a bargain. This was a classic scam when New Era was first launched. But Lin Jai wasn't a beginner. He was an immortal god of war who had once used thousands of divine artifacts with his bare hands. His tactile senses wouldn't be wrong. He chose to buy it just now because this wooden stick possessed both the properties of a sword and the properties of a club. The system's normal weapon classification wouldn't show this error unless it was an unidentified divine artifact. Even if it couldn't be identified for now, Lin Jai could still use it as a sword. Shortly after Lin Jai obtained his first weapon, all beginners received a world quest titled Terror Demon Attack. Their mission was to protect the gates of Mel Town from the Terror Demon invasion, and to defend the crystal at the center of the town. Lin Jai knew well that Mel Town was located on a strategic frontline of the New Era continent, and was one of the places hardest hit by plagues and natural disasters. This led to the constant appearance of high-attack, Level 2 monsters outside the north gate of the town. In his previous life, 1 year after the open beta of New Era was launched, Mel Town had permanently disappeared from the continent's map, likely destroyed by this very army of terror demons. The other beginners naturally had no idea about that danger, and were currently excited because killing the monsters would grant a lot of experience points. Among the players flocking to the north gate was Lin Jai, who was stopped by the guards on the grounds that even though the situation was urgent, they didn't want new players throwing their lives away at the north gate. The guard also advised him to return to the other 3 gates and defeat the low-level monsters outside there first. However, Lin Jai was extremely resolute. "No need, just let me pass. Once you leave the town, you won't have any beginner protection mechanisms anymore," the guard continued to warn. "Fine, I'll find opponents of appropriate skill for myself," he replied. But in truth, even if they were higher level, it wouldn't be a problem. Seeing Lin Jai so determined, the guard opened the gate for him. At that moment, Lin Jai received a notification. Because he had performed a brave deed, his reputation in Mel Town had increased by 100 points, reaching the friendly level. New Era had a hidden set of rules that encouraged players to push their limits. If an NPC believed that a player was attempting a high-difficulty task, they would increase their favorability, thereby triggering hidden quests. Just as Lin Jai had predicted, a guard chased after him in a hurry. "Wait a moment, if you are determined to do this, could I ask for your help with something?" brave adventurer, the system immediately sent a notification activating a side quest line titled The Captain's Request. This was a quest originally intended for players level 3 and above. Although Lin Jai was currently only level 1, this was entirely within his calculations. 3 of my men are trapped in the camp of the terror demon leader, Griffin the Singer. I beg you to help me retrieve their bodies to hold a funeral for them, Captain Lance requested. However, what Lin Jai intended to do for him went beyond just collecting bodies. Challenging above one's level could earn a player unexpected rewards. And for now, it might also change the future of Mel Town. With this thought, Lin Jai said, "What you need is not a funeral, Captain Lance. You know my name." The other man was extremely surprised and asked back, "I will personally rescue them from the hands of Griffin the Singer and save Mel Town from him. Just prepare for a celebration," Lin Jai replied confidently. He knew exactly who his opponent was, the beginner killer, Singer Jerry. If he wanted to completely finish this dungeon, he needed to be defeated by a player of a level much lower than the dungeon's requirements. Therefore, before doing the quest, Lin Jai had to keep his level as low as possible. Although doing so would weaken his attack power, relying on his techniques and his understanding of the boss's mechanics, he could absolutely face a boss-level creature, powerful as a god, even at level 1. It's just that these things couldn't be told to others, and even if he did, no one would necessarily believe him. Sure enough, Lance was extremely panicked when he heard he was going to find Griffin. He hurriedly tried to stop him. "No, that is impossible. If no miracle occurs, just do your job well and wait for Griffin the Singer to leave. Rest assured I am that miracle." Lin Jai's voice carried the arrogance of a powerhouse. In fact, his self-confidence was completely well-founded. In this life, he would personally tip the scales of fate in his favor. As soon as he stepped out of the gate, Lin Jai smelled a thick stench of blood that made him instinctively frown. Right, New Era was an extremely high-difficulty game, full of the designers' malice toward players. But even so, the high rewards still drew players from all over the world to pour in. Before Lin Jai, there were already several groups of players out there killing monsters. He was walking alone, but they had formed a party. Indeed, for an ordinary player, the best strategy was to form a party. But Lin Jai was no ordinary player. He intended to turn a blind eye and just pass through. But he unexpectedly heard a very familiar voice. "Yo, isn't this the idiot who got scammed? What's up? Are you still keeping that treasure wooden stick of yours? Guys, look at him, heh. Turns out it's the guy we met at the weapon stall." Lin Jai couldn't be bothered with him and just dropped a cold, boring, then walked straight past. But this group didn't intend to let him off so easily. A guy stepped out to block Lin Jai's path, looking him up and down. "Hey, you rookie warrior, are you planning to solo monsters?" "Heh, looking at those rags, you can tell he's a noob. Once he's about to die, he'll definitely beg to party up." The others in the group also openly looked down on Lin Jai, because not only was he a level 1 warrior, but he was also carrying a wooden stick. They felt that even if he came along, he would only be a hindrance. Lin Jai didn't want to argue, he just sighed. While forming a party could reduce risks, the rewards had to be shared, so they dropped significantly. Soloing a monster earned 5 times the rewards of a party, so why wouldn't he? In other words, if one had enough strength, forming a party was actually disadvantageous. Lin Jai wanted to walk ahead, but the knight tried to grab him. Unexpectedly, he ended up falling backward himself, despite being much larger in stature. "What the hell, what's going on?" the guy hissed. Lin Jai looked at him with full disdain, thinking to himself that this knight looked strong, but his body was unexpectedly weak. If he guessed correctly, the talent he chose at the start was Blazing Judgment, which covered his whole body in holy flames and looked quite powerful. But the price to pay was a loss of 2 points in strength, and his body became as fragile as paper, which meant sacrificing the knight's entire ability to charge into battle. With this thought, Lin Jai couldn't help but mock him, a blazing knight who only knows how to hide behind his party. Ha ha, what a coward. Seeing Lin Jai mocking him, the knight wanted to rush over to settle the score, but his action was interrupted when the system notified Lin Jai that he had been noticed by a terror demon. The guy ran away quickly, leaving a remark for Lin Jai. "Ha ha, didn't see that coming, did you? The terror demon is going to send you back to the city for free. Don't blame me." Lin Jai now realized that the knight had intentionally drawn attention to him, then lured the monster over to finish him off. Although his body was weak, his mind had a bit of calculation, unlike the stupid Balai he had met in the city. He did the math. Killing a level 2 terror demon wasn't enough for him to level up, which was perfect. He could keep his level as low as possible to face Griffin. Since he had to fight anyway, he might as well warm up a bit. Seeing Lin Jai not running but actually rushing toward the terror demon, the group was extremely surprised, thinking he had been scared into stupidity. Lin Jai lunged forward with full confidence. He could clearly see the enemy's movements, and from that he dodged perfectly. As a warrior, only when near death can one become stronger. Only by pushing oneself into danger can one become an immortal god of war. Only by constantly challenging danger could he become the strongest in this life. Wake up, idiot! Lin Jai unleashed a critical strike, knocking away 6 HP from the enemy. Because it was angered, its attack power immediately increased by 50%. The group saw this and was scared silly, as this was the monster's all-out attack. For a beginner to rush in now was no different than seeking death. Yet Lin Jai had actually rushed in. Because his strength wasn't enough yet, he had to get closer to his opponent. And this time, when lunging forward recklessly, his critical strike dealt another 10 damage to the terror demon. The weapon in its hand was knocked away. Taking advantage of the moment, the terror demon was still holding its head in pain. Lin Jai continued to attack. The relentless blows continued to rain down without stopping. A moment later, he had successfully soloed it, receiving 100 experience points and 5 copper coins, constantly breaking his limits. This was the way to truly open up the new era. Lin Jai's performance just now had indeed exceeded the expectations of the party. No one believed he had relied only on a wooden stick, and furthermore, was only level 1 while soloing a level 2 terror demon. The knight thought he was just lucky, but their captain, having watched, realized the issue and stepped forward. Interesting, kid. You must be a player from some internal test version of New Era, right? You clearly couldn't have trained this kind of technique without hundreds of hours of play. Do you want to party up with me? I'm missing a pro. He offered an invitation in good faith, but Lin Jai replied immediately that he wasn't interested. But the other side didn't give up immediately, continuing. Further down this way, you're planning to challenge the singer Griffin, right? The guide said it required a 5-man party. My team already has 4 people, so we're just missing 1. You. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Jai received a notification. Rex is inviting you to join, accept or not. It turned out this annoying guy's name was Rex, and to lure Lin Jai into his team, he even offered a 50-50 split of the rewards. However, Lin Jai still remained unmoved. 5 people was just the number recommended by the system to challenge Griffin, not a strict requirement. Seeing Lin Jai's attitude, Rex started to break out in a cold sweat. Does he want to do this alone? A group dungeon like this won't be cleared just by one person's skills. Listen up, kid. The rewards for defeating Griffin for the first time include a special title and legacy gear. Right now, there are no fewer than 20 groups across the server working on this, and our team has the best chance. You should feel lucky we want to party with you. Rex spoke as if he were bestowing a favor, and his lackeys nodded in agreement. And there's extra info for the second phase. Griffin will summon some elite monsters. Without a tank, you won't be able to fight back. You'll be wiped out in one go. Hearing this, Lin Jai laughed, casting a gaze that saw through the world at them. Aren't you missing a tank, and I just happen to be a warrior, right? Rex immediately shook his head vigorously, saying he really valued him, and felt his skills were a perfect fit for his elite squad, not because they needed a tank. Lin Jai naturally didn't believe it. He saw through this trap at a glance. They just wanted a sacrificial pawn to attract the boss's attention. Seeing Lin Jai closing his eyes as if weighing his options, a moment later, Rake asked, thinking he would refuse again. But to his surprise, Lin Jai readily agreed this time. Of course, he wasn't a fool. The difficulty and rewards of a dungeon boss fight would be adjusted based on the number of participants. If the full 5-man party entered the match, the boss would activate its full-power combat mode, dropping special rewards when defeated. Since after completing the hidden quest, the singer Griffin would be permanently removed from the list of bosses, the rewards he dropped were one of a kind. And in this life, Lin Jai wanted to be the strongest, so these rewards were of the utmost importance for his upcoming level up. Although he agreed to join the party, he was secretly calculating the opportunity to snatch this unique reward for himself. Along the way to the entrance of the Griffin dungeon, Lin Jai took the time to kill quite a few terror demons. Rex's group sighed as they looked at him. This idiot, before entering a dungeon, you have to know how to save your energy, Rex muttered. Does this idiot know how hard it is to get recovery potions in the early stage? The mage standing next to him chimed in. It's been calculated. You have to kill 100 monsters just to get 2 copper coins, let alone drop a green tier item. Besides the gifts from the game's launch packs, very few players have received green gear on the first day the server went live. The knight named Hack added. Lin Jai finished off a pack of monsters, and the wooden stick in his hand glowed with a notification that it was searching for a host. Hack said, "Stop looking. Monster weapons aren't items players can use. This is what we call don't pick up trash from the floor. If you could easily pick up monster weapons and sell them, the in-game economy on the first day would have inflated 100 times over." Clearly, Hack didn't know what Lin Jai was truly looking for. He wasn't interested in the ragged weapons of the terror demons. It was just that the system kept notifying him that the wooden stick was looking for a host. Could it want to merge with some monster gear? With that thought, Lin Jai started searching. Afterward, he found a blade and merged it with the wooden stick in his hand. Branches of the world tree are merging with the weapon. The notification line jumped before Lin Jai. Received. Terror Demon Sword. When critical strike increases, bleeding effect triggers. Critical strike rate minus 99%, attack plus 10, strength plus 1. Branches of the world tree? Lin Jai remembered. He seemed to have seen them in an auction 3 years ago. Their shapes could vary depending on the location and owner, but they all had the original form of a wooden stick. The power of this legacy weapon was its ability to wrap itself around anything to turn it into a sword. To be more precise, it was a divine tool like a sword hilt. Eventually, this legacy divine item was sold for 100 million yuan. Lin Jai himself hadn't expected that the weapon he spent 1 copper to buy was actually this divine item. In the early stages, players only had white gear or even nothing in their hands, but even the most basic monsters were equipped with green-tier items. The level of confrontation between players and their opponents was fundamentally uneven. However, Lin Jai could use the branches of the world tree to pick up weapons that ordinary people couldn't use from the hands of the monsters. And furthermore, he could continuously swap them without losing money. This was truly a gift from heaven. They stepped through the dungeon gate. Inside, the situation was in total chaos. Before Lin Jai's party, a group of guards was shouting and desperately protecting Mel Town, fighting Griffin the Singer with their lives. "Don't go over there, this is the boss fight cinematic. Wait for the scene to end before you can go into fight," Rex warned. He calculated silently. Just a few more seconds, those 3 NPCs will be smashed. After that, Griffin will enter a rest phase. His aggression and damage capability will both drop. He signaled everyone to wait for his command to rush in together. However, Lin Jai had no interest in watching this whole cinematic. So he spoke up loudly, "Everyone stop and go back. Captain Lance is waiting for you all." His actions left Rex's group gaping in astonishment. These people were just NPCs intended to advance the plot and weaken the boss slightly. Yet Lin Jai had not only failed to capitalize on the advantage, but had actually called for them to stop and sent them back to the city. To their shock, the guards actually ceased their assault upon hearing the name Lance and followed Lin Jai's command to depart. Explaining his actions, he remarked that his preferred method of combat was to initiate battle directly, as it was much faster than waiting for a scripted cutscene to finish, though the price for forcing an encounter was that enemies would become significantly more aggressive, especially for the warrior tanking the aggro. "Is this guy an idiot starting the battle like that?" one of the team members shouted. Rex immediately ordered the other 3 to ignore Lin Jai and let him do as he pleased, while he himself kept a safe distance from the boss's aggro range. Lin Jai never intended to ride their coattails anyway, and his actions weren't born of reckless stubbornness, but out of a necessity to act. The world timeline had shifted, and quest directions were prone to change as a result. In this life, he was the butterfly effect disrupting the world's destiny, and therefore, he had to be even more proactive. Watching Lin Jai engage Griffin head-on, the others naturally didn't believe he could possibly succeed in taking the boss down. Rex then instructed his subordinates, "We've lured this pawn here to test the boss's skills. Once the boss takes down that idiot and enters his first rest state, we'll storm in and snatch the first kill reward." He felt his plan was absolutely perfect, but the guy next to him couldn't help but remind him, "Boss, but according to the system design, the rewards are shared among the party members. He's going to take a cut of our experience and loot." "I won't give him that chance." A cunning smile appeared on Rex's face. Lin Jai received a notification that he had been kicked from the party. Even while busy fighting Griffin, Lin Jai had enough time to read the notification. He was neither surprised nor angry. It only confirmed his suspicions that these bastards just wanted to lure someone here to die and chip away at the boss's health to reduce the difficulty for themselves. They believed a 5-man party would struggle against the Cantor Griffin, so a level 1 amateur player would have no chance of defeating him. However, they had calculated wrong, because Lin Jai was no amateur. He was a warrior reborn from the depths of hell. Thinking of this, he leaped up, aggressively confronting Griffin. His title of Undying War God was no joke. Those watching from the outside suddenly saw a massive explosion, and Rex grew frantic, muttering to himself, "Did I hear that wrong?" That explosion sounded like it tore through the air. Lin Jai was still alive and kicking, and he didn't even seem to be suppressed by Griffin. Lin Jai's eyes were filled with resolve, and under the effect of his oath to the blade, talent, the weapon in his hand grew sharper than ever. After a while, Griffin's health bar had dropped by half, and his mask was cracked from Lin Jai's strikes. Only then did Hack realize the severity of the problem. Everything seemed to be veering off their plan. "Wait, they're holding their own. Something's wrong here." By the time they realized something was off, Griffin had already entered his second form. Moving into this stage, the boss became even more aggressive, but Lin Jai was well aware of that, and he was the one who had deliberately pushed himself into this most dangerous situation. Seeing Griffin gearing up for an attack, Lin Jai stood perfectly still. The observers grew unnervingly tense. Is he stupid? Is he trying to tank a boss-level charged attack? He's a dead man. Get ready, it's our turn soon. With a deafening boom, the ground shook and dust and debris filled the air, severely limiting visibility. It appeared Griffin's strike had landed, and everyone assumed Lin Jai was surely doomed. While this was unthinkable to them, it wasn't to Lin Jai. He had chosen the hopeless warrior class only to create a miracle no one could have foreseen. You don't understand, and you don't want to understand. Not everyone in this world is born with the right to choose. 5 years ago in his previous life, before the servers launched, Lin Jai had gone to the store to buy a gaming headset, and the shopkeeper said that the current price was just for the peripherals. Once in-game, classes would be valued based on popularity, and the wealthy could pick the top-tier damage-dealing classes. Those without money can only pick the least popular support classes or meat shield tanks. Back then, the warrior class was even free for a limited time at launch, making it the most suitable choice for players looking to earn money through the game, and the perfect fit for Lin Jai, who was penniless at the time. As an ordinary citizen, he had discovered a stunning truth. The way to seize opportunity was actually to abandon everything else. The dust settled. Seeing Lin Jai use his weapon to block the boss's strike, the crowd could only mutter, "No way. A level 1 player shouldn't be able to block that." Yet Lin Jai had managed it. In his previous life and this one, utilizing the lowest costs with the highest intensity of effort in the most dangerous training environments was the best path for an ordinary person like him. Furthermore, in this life, he was determined to grasp his rebirth and hold his sword firmly, trusting it, and himself, completely. The enhanced grip talent allowed Lin Jai to hold his weapon securely, enabling him to hold his blade horizontally and use it like a shield. That was how he was able to parry the enemy's strike. After the failed attack, the boss left himself open, and that was the moment for Lin Jai's counterattack. He had abandoned every other opportunity because he had no choice, and what remained before him was the only real opportunity. Even if the boss was as powerful as a god, so what? Even gods would fall by his hand. I will definitely become the strongest. That was the only intense thought running through Lin Jai's mind. Lin Jai swung his sword, screaming with lethal intensity, "Die, Griffin." The two of them refused to give an inch, colliding in a battle of terrifying strength. But Lin Jai, with his sharp willpower and immense power, managed to overwhelm his opponent. Looking at his defeated rival, Lin Jai glanced at the system notification. "You have successfully defeated the Cantor Griffin." But before long, Lin Jai couldn't hold himself up anymore and dropped to his knees. He wiped a streak of blood from the corner of his mouth, breathing a silent sigh of relief. With his current stats, resisting the boss's heavy attacks had been a bit of a stretch. Lin Jai forced himself to stand, thinking, fortunately, warriors have an HP advantage. I still have a sliver of health left. The system notified him that defeating the level 5 boss, Cantor Griffin, granted a 500% experience bonus, totaling 2,350 XP and leveling him up to level 2. The system board displayed his info. Lin Jai, level 2 human warrior, no title, HP 145. Rage 0-1 accumulated by dealing or receiving damage required to unlock skills. Attack 1317 Terror Demon Sword. Defense 1 Stamina 8+1. Agility 7 Intelligence 1 Spirit 1 Willpower 3. Rex was stunned at the sight, bewildered. Did I see that wrong? Rex was skeptical. It's like Griffin's second phase was cut short before it even finished. Ignoring the chatter, the system updated. Time-limited quest completed. Congratulations on being the first player in the Divine Realm to defeat the Cantor Griffin. Your reputation in Meltown has increased by 200. Your reputation in Meltown has reached worship status, over 300 points. Just as the system announcement finished, The light in Cantor Griffin's chest blazed. Rex said jealously, "Damn it, this guy must have won by exploiting a bug. That's an unfair victory." Refusing to accept it, he ordered, "You three, go and loot the items on the ground for me. We're going in." Even without participating, they could still claim the majority of the loot. Hack raised his hand to pick up the items but started trembling, saying, "Boss, I can't pick these up. The system warns that I don't have the authority to claim them." Hack wasn't about to give up despite the warning. He fumed. "What do you mean, no authority? By what right can't I pick them up?" Rex suddenly realized the problem. Cantor Griffin had been defeated by Lin Jai alone. "Just now, I kicked him from the party, so..." He clutched his head and shouted, "The rewards have nothing to do with us. This is a disaster." Immediately, a golden bell appeared. System info, Cantor Griffin's golden bell, a legacy divine artifact. When used, it emits a deafening sound and grants the user a protective shield capable of absorbing one major hit. The sound of the bell shattering can knock back attackers. Limit, once per day. Lin Jai looked at the bell and remarked, "I didn't expect the item dropped by Griffin to be so small." He quickly reached out toward the bell, and Lin Jai claimed his loot. Instantly, streams of light appeared around Lin Jai, along with gold coins being pulled toward him. Seeing the gold coins flying toward Lin Jai, Hack couldn't help but exclaim, "Damn it!" Hack shouted in frustration, "Damn it, that loot clearly belonged to us. By what right is he monopolizing it?" Rex raised a hand and said, "Calm down, Hack. It doesn't matter if he took the loot." He curled his lip and added, "According to Era's treasure-hunting mechanics, if a player dies, they drop all items collected within the last 24 hours. That means if we rush in and kill him now, all the rewards will be ours." Hack remained worried. "But boss, this warrior took down Griffin single-handedly. His strength is terrifying." A trite standing nearby chimed in, "What's there to be afraid of? This guy just took heavy damage. His health is down to 3%. He activated the hunter's eagle eye skill. A trite stroked his chin and said, "Just one strong hit is enough to kill him." Rex gripped his blade and said, "Brothers, activate PvP mode." Lin Jai may have had the luck to enter the dungeon, but he won't have the luck to walk out alive. The group then quickly moved toward Lin Jai. While he stood there calmly, Lin Jai calculated. Killing a boss nets 100 gold coins, not to mention a large amount of alchemy materials. Lin Jai looked at the coins in his system and said, "Currently, 1 gold coin is worth 12,000 yuan, so this is worth 1.2 million yuan. I made a fortune today." Rex stood behind Lin Jai and mocked, "Congratulations, you gullible fool. You've proven you've got a bit of talent now." Lin Jai just turned his head and replied, "You betrayed our cooperation and kicked me from the party on a whim. It's too late for apologies." Rex waved his finger and said, "We trusted your strength, that's why we didn't intervene. Look, you successfully completed a 5-man difficulty quest alone. You're very impressive." Rex then continued with a sinister smirk, "This accomplishment at least partly belongs to us, doesn't it?" Instantly, a red notification flashed. "System warning, you have suffered a critical wound." Lin Jai spat out blood. "System alert. Before returning to a safe zone, your maximum HP is temporarily reduced by 90%. All attributes are halved." Rex said triumphantly, "We already knew your situation. This is where it ends." He narrowed his eyes and warned him, not kindly, "Remember, the person you cooperated with is the notorious villain. Guild. Our principle is..." Rex revealed his true nature. "Kill monsters, kill players, cooperate, then betray." A trite stood behind him, drawing his bow. Rex laughed smugly. "And you, Lin Jai?" He pointed at Lin Jai and said, "Time to cough everything up." Lin Jai stood calmly, watching the glowing arrow whiz past his ear. The hunter's eagle eye skill, he thought. Seeing the arrow pinned to the pillar behind him, Lin Jai guessed it could significantly improve accuracy, making it almost certain to hit targets in open areas. He had intentionally dodged it. He didn't mince words, looking at the group and asking directly, "What is the meaning of this?" Rex was generous enough to say, "It's simple. Hand over everything, the loot from Cantor Griffin, the wooden stick in your hand, and even the clothes off your back." He pointed at Lin Jai arrogantly. "And if you kneel and beg for mercy, we won't kill you." Rex was cruel and arrogant as he added, "But I want you to leave here naked, so everyone can see you humiliated to the core." Like a madman, he laughed loudly. "A naked warrior, a poor naked loser, thinking that because you got lucky and hit a boss's weak point, you could climb up. In reality, you're still just a stupid dog at the bottom of society trying to crawl your way up." Lin Jai listened as if he were hearing a joke. He snorted and replied, "Since you've reached this point." Lin Jai raised his weapon and shouted, "Obviously, I refuse." Looking Rex in the eye, Lin Jai said, "You are nothing more than a pebble on the path to my becoming stronger. I won't hesitate to step on you and keep moving forward." He provoked them. I won't even care when or where you end up under my boot. Lin Jai wiped the blood from his mouth and said haughtily, if you have the guts, come and kill me, Rex. That's exactly what I'm hopping for. Rex put his hands on his hips and retorted, refuse? Good, refuse then. He ordered a trite to draw his bow. Kill him. The system notified him that Eagle Eye was activated. Lin Jai immediately took out the golden bell he had just received. Countless pink beams of light poured from the golden bell, carrying immense energy. A massive explosion erupted right there, catching everyone off guard. After the dust and smoke cleared, Rex's group could see the situation clearly. He cursed, damn it, that's Griffin's drop, the golden bell. Hack asked curiously, what does the golden bell do? Invincibility. Lin Jai stood inside the golden bell and replied, of course it's not invincibility, it just buys me 1 second of rest. Hack said scornfully, what's the use of 1 second? What difference does dying a second earlier or later make? Lin Jai smirked, because upgrading my combat skills takes exactly 1 second. He then emerged from the golden bell. Lin Jai said, now I'll crush you 3 bastards. A system notification appeared. Level 2, you can freely allocate skill points. He used 1 point to learn the warrior's exclusive skill, Breath of Death. When a warrior falls into danger, the body activates Breath of Death to temporarily restore a small amount of HP. If the user is near death or surrounded by enemies, this skill restores a large amount of HP. I might even be able to break through the warrior's HP limit. Lin Jai thought to himself, affirming it in his heart. A trite panicked. This guy's health fully recovered. How did he do it? He even broke through the injury limit. Lin Jai looked at them with lethal intent and said, power from hell, do you want a taste? The mage shouted a warning. Don't be intimidated by him. His sword is still stuck in the ground. Strike now. Lin Jai didn't waste words. His eyes flashed, and he lunged forward like a bolt of lightning. Rex was shocked by the speed, asking himself, is this really Lin Jai? He lunged and punched a trite in the face. While Rex hadn't even finished his sentence, what happened? The speed was too fast for them to react, and they only saw an explosion where a trite had been standing. Hack and Mikey widened their eyes, sighing inwardly, so fast. They were panicked. A punch, he used only a punch. A trite died from a single punch. The system displayed, enhanced grip for unarmed combat, received combat mastery skill. Rex saw things going south and ordered, Mikey, use Ice Burst to hold him. Mikey replied, got it. Mikey quickly cast Ice Burst. System, frozen, movement restricted. Just then Hack swung his blade, trying to sneak an attack. I've had my eye on you for a while. These ice crystals will be your grave. Die. But Lin Jai quickly dodged. System, strength test, breaking free from ice crystals. He raised his fist, his eyes wide with killing intent. Lin Jai threw a punch and Hack was sent flying. Hack screamed in pain. Mikey couldn't believe it. This is illogical. My ice storm couldn't restrain him. Lin Jai turned and replied calmly. With enough strength, one can use brute force to break any binding. This level of ice magic is nothing to me. Mikey was surprised. His stats were clearly halved due to serious injuries. How could his strength stat still be enough? In his heart, he kept denying it. Looking at the combat aura surrounding Lin Jai, Mikey grew restless. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't look like his stats are reduced. He turned and shouted, "Hey, Trite, hurry up and use Eagle Eye to check his stats." But before they knew it, Lin Jai was standing right next to him. He grabbed Mikey's hand and said, "No need." Then Lin Jai helpfully reminded him. That hunter earlier was taken down by 1 punch, did you forget? Only then did Mikey realize in horror. Trite, no, this isn't right. Embarrassment turned to rage. Mikey shouted at Lin Jai, cheat. That's right, you must have cheated. Lin Jai's eyes widened, but Mikey continued to shout, you're a cheater. In Lin Jai's heart, the word cheat echoed repeatedly. He remembered Bailey's accusation. You dare use a cheating weapon, why treat me like this? Bailey's judgment echoed. It's useless to say anything now, you've already lost. Lin Jai shouted, only by abandoning everything you believe in can you choose a path of no return. And I will absolutely never go down that path. As if losing his composure, he grabbed Mikey and scolded. You losers can't win, so you just accuse people of cheating. Mikey was stunned, shouting with a pleading tone, You're very strong, I surrender, don't kill me. I'll leave Rex's villain group immediately. But Lin Jai didn't let him go. He said, too late. System, enhanced grip. He gave a flick and Mikey went flying. An explosion erupted where he landed. As the dust cleared, the towering figure of Lin Jai stood there. Just then a voice came from behind. Interesting, you just threw away your last advantage. Your class is a warrior. Rex said with an arrogant tone. I know exactly how you utilized your class advantage to pull this off. He gripped his blade tightly. Able to unleash incredible power even in disadvantageous situations, especially when surrounded by a large number of enemies. System, warrior trait, back to the wall. When surrounded, attributes are significantly boosted. State of siege requires at least 3 enemies to be activated. Rex said slowly, the state of siege requires at least 3 enemies to activate. Now that it's just me, back to the wall can't be activated. Your tricks end here. Lin Jai was unfazed, replying, right, so I'll just honestly use 1 sword strike to send you back to the city. Rex immediately activated his enhancement, sneering, it seems you still don't understand the situation. Lin Jai, my assassin class is a PK-oriented profession, and my combat power is drastically enhanced in 1v1 scenarios. I'm clearly in the dominant position now. You're finished. Rex, looking utterly smug, shouted at Lin Jai, now I'm going to take your pathetic life. With those words, he lunged toward Lin Jai with terrifying speed. Lin Jai watched the person in front of him, silently assessing. The assassin's special trait is exploiting weak points. Any part of the body that gets struck by an assassin's attack will accumulate a debuff stat. Lin Jai then analyzed his own vulnerabilities. The most dangerous strike would be to the head, which applies a blindness debuff, causing all subsequent attacks to miss. A hit to the arms applies a disarm debuff. A hit to the torso applies a bleeding debuff, and a hit to the legs applies a crippling debuff. He knew his weaknesses well. Once struck, he would quickly be overwhelmed by a cascade of overlapping debuffs. Rex slashed repeatedly at Lin Jai, but he dodged every strike. Your footwork is actually not bad. Even with such a cumbersome sword, your speed still keeps up. Rex also understood the situation perfectly. He said, however, close quarters combat is my advantage. Once you're hit by an assassin's strike, even a single one is enough to leave you stunned by the continuously stacking debuffs. With a grim expression, he said in a deadly tone, struggling is futile. Soon you'll be kneeling and begging me for a painless death. But Lin Jai didn't panic. He suddenly spotted an opening and immediately seized the chance to knock Rex's sword away, creating distance between them. Rex was pushed back a few steps, surprised. Even with my attributes halved, its destructive power is still that terrifying. The initial strength advantage of this warrior could indeed not be underestimated, but very quickly he reassured himself. It's fine. If this drags into a drawn-out battle, you are forced to die. Lin Jai's eyes glowed as he retorted, who cares to fight you for long, idiot? He used his agile movement to fly toward Rex, intending to send him back to the respawn stone to repent. Rex's eyes widened. He hadn't reacted in time to Lin Jai's power. He found himself standing naked, surrounded by respawn stones. Still dazed and unable to react, Rex muttered, have I already respawned at the stone? The system notification blared. You have been killed by the warrior Lin Jai. Penalty, level reduction. Your level has dropped from 3 to 2 and all attributes have been reduced. Hearing familiar laughter from behind, Rex panicked and realized what had happened. He angrily cursed, what is the meaning of this? Mocking me. Ajay reminded him, boss, all your clothes and gear have been taken. The system displayed a notification. New Era's treasure plunder mechanic. Upon death, players drop all items they have picked up within the last 24 hours. Ajay shouted, it must have been less than 24 hours. Mikey was even more shocked. What? Hearing this, Rex cursed loudly. Damn it, Lin Jai dared to humiliate me in front of everyone. Just wait, I'm not done with you. We are not done. On the other side, Lin Jai remarked that 1 sword strike was just to send Rex's body back. Why were all the clothes left behind? Hack, just waking up, rubbed his head. So painful. Luckily, because I'm afraid of pain, I maxed out my defense stats. Otherwise, I would have been sent back to the city in 1 hit. Where did everyone go? Then he saw Lin Jai standing there all by himself. Hack's whole body shuddered. He hugged his blade, trembling continuously as he threatened Lin Jai. Don't come over. Don't you dare come any closer. I'll stab you to death. But Lin Jai just politely said to him, please take Rex's clothes back to him. Lin Jai added from behind, and pass on a message. If I encounter you guys again next time, I will kill you until your levels hit 0. Hack trembled all over and hurriedly turned around. Understood. But his eyes widened, and he shuddered even more than before, seemingly terrified. Then his face contorted, his mouth looking as if he were holding something back. Hack hurriedly covered his mouth with both hands, as if he were about to vomit. Indeed, he knelt to the ground and coughed up blood. Hack coughed continuously, his heart racing in panic. What kind of terrifying power is this? It can no longer be measured by data. The pressure is like that of the Grim Reaper. Looking at Lin Jai, who seemed enveloped in roaring flames, Hack sighed. Just like a god of war returned from hell. The system praised, you have bravely stood against malicious players and earned massive reputation. Meltown reputation plus 300. Your reputation in Meltown has reached 600 plus. You have achieved legendary status in Meltown. NPCs will willingly follow you. A statue will be erected in the town to honor you. You have gained exclusive plot-related privileges. Lin Jai frowned, thinking, although being betrayed by teammates is unfortunate, earning this much reputation from it isn't bad. Now, time to head back to the city and get some rest. Eventually, Lin Jai returned to the city, where his subordinates simultaneously knelt to welcome his return. He was very surprised by the scene, not understanding what was happening. Everyone shouted in unison, "Please accept the supreme ritual of Mel Town, Lord Dawnblade, the one who created the miracle." The system also sent a congratulation. "Congratulations, you have obtained the title Dawnblade." The group standing outside wondered, What's going on? Why are the NPCs suddenly bowing to a player? What is Dawnblade? Is it a special title? A blue-haired player asked, could it be a feature that can only be unlocked with platinum VIP privileges? How much money did that cost? The person next to him retorted, no way. How could a bottom-tier warrior, the kind even stray dogs wouldn't bother with, afford a platinum VIP membership? Lin Jai also wondered to himself, Dawnblade, I've heard of this title in a dungeon in my past life. He recalled the time 3 years ago, when the world had been plunged into an era of eternal night. In a place where monsters ran rampant, the faint flame of civilization was at risk of being extinguished. At that moment, a legendary warrior stepped forward, holding a simple-looking weapon. Yet in the darkness, he sparked the first ray of dawn. That greatsword became the symbol that tore through the night. Lin Jai then looked at the ally information in the system and said, launch the decisive battle in the darkest hour before dawn, finally bringing light to the world. The result was the silhouette of an unknown warrior standing on a cliff, surrounded by morning light sparkling like gold, raising a longsword bright under the dawn. Thus, Dawnblade is bestowed upon the brave who dare to stand against evil. Lin Jai thought this was one of the 8 legacy titles promoted most heavily before the game's launch. Each story represented an epic hero from the history of the New Era world. He speculated, the government once implied that the background of these titles wasn't simple. It could highly likely be a secret achievement or an extremely great honorary reward. But I've never heard of anyone obtaining it. Then Lin Jai smirked with satisfaction. Dawnblade, one of the 8 legacy titles. To think it was obtained by a newbie like me in Mel Town. Lin Jai thought happily, truly an unexpected harvest. The NPCs shouted, welcome back, Lord Dawnblade. Inside the large building, a voice rang out. Lord Dawnblade, your righteous actions have deeply moved and touched the entire village. A soldier knelt before Lin Jai and said, Mayor Oliver Green wishes to personally host a banquet to welcome you. The system notified. Subquest Hero of Mel Town has opened. Go to the council hall of Mel Town. The soldier bowed earnestly. Please allow me to personally lead the way. Lin Jai smiled and said, no need, I will go there myself. You all stay at your posts. He silently understood that being too flashy would certainly attract malicious players. Better to be a bit humble. Lin Jai had guessed correctly. In the shadows, a dissatisfied voice rang out. Rex said maliciously, Lin Jai, wait until you reach some dark alley. I'll stab you in the back. Mikey, standing behind, advised, Boss, maybe we shouldn't confront him anymore. Since all the NPCs in this town are respectful toward him, we should probably leave. Rex trembled with anger, gritting his teeth. What do you know? Infamy is still fame. As long as we can kill him, other evil players will surely respect us. Hack asked in surprise, Boss, have you thought of a way to make him admit defeat? Rex replied with a calculating tone. If we were outside, my words wouldn't carry much weight. But here in Mel Town, I, the villain, have more of a say than anyone else. An NPC saw Rex holding a weapon and angrily warned, the Mel Town festival is coming soon. Gatherings and carrying weapons are prohibited. Rex laughed awkwardly. We were just negotiating a trade. Why do you NPCs manage so much? Don't you let people play? The soldier warned. We keep a special eye on players with bad intentions. You have a criminal record, so behave yourself in town. Rex gritted his teeth. Even Mel Town has its dark side. His voice still echoed with dissatisfaction. Just wait. Ignoring Rex's group, Lin Jai had arrived. This was the office of Mayor Green. As soon as Lin Jai opened the door, a voice rang out from inside. Lord Dawnblade. Mayor Green said joyfully to Lin Jai, you've finally come. He happily shook Lin Jai's hand and said, thanks to you, the thing that has hung over our heads for so many years, Griffin the Singer, that nightmare has been completely wiped out. Mayor Green continued with flowery praise. Your righteous deed has not only saved the town, but also saved countless lives that would have been sacrificed for this. This is a feat worthy of being recorded in history. Lin Jai was slightly embarrassed. In his memory from his past life, Mayor Green was a solemn, quiet NPC. Perhaps because he had spent many years tiredly dealing with terror demon attacks, his spirit had been exhausted. But in this life, his complexion was much better and his personality had changed. He humbly said, "This is what I should have done." Mayor Green looked outside, his voice full of excitement. "To commemorate your bravery and kindness, I, on behalf of the people of the town, respectfully propose." Then he continued, "We will erect a hero statue for you in the central square. I propose using gold to craft it, so everyone who comes to Mel Town will know of your legend." Mayor Green didn't see Lin Jai's helpless expression and continued to speak proudly. He waited for him to finish and then humbly declined. "I appreciate your kind intentions, but to me, this is nothing but a hollow name. The players won't have their lives changed just because a statue suddenly appears in town." Lin Jai looked at Mayor Green and added, "I have a suggestion, what do you think?" He wasn't angry at being refused and still said happily, "Lord Dawnblade, gold, titles, anything you consider worthy of your great service is possible." Lin Jai looked at the people standing below and said, "The threat from Griffin has been eliminated. The money and military supplies that Mel Town had prepared to deal with him should have been used for more practical things, which can bring benefits to everyone." Lin Jai continued, "I think using this money for two things would be better. First, long-term tax reductions for adventurers at the town's trading hubs, thereby reducing development costs for beginners, turning Mel Town into a friendly, vibrant starting point for all adventurers." Mayor Green broke a slight sweat hearing Lin Jai's request. He added, "Second, strengthen security and patrols in towns and cities to ensure threats don't recur, so that residents and visitors can live safely." Deep down, he judged, "I have met countless adventurers chasing fame and power, but I have never met anyone who cares about other players like this." Mayor Green lifted his glasses and said calmly, "Lord, your kindness and vision make me both respectful and ashamed. Then let it be as you say. I will issue the order immediately." A massive system board appeared, and all players saw the town-wide notification. All transactions in Mel Town will permanently enjoy a 50% tax reduction starting today, to welcome and empower the journey of all new adventurers. Following the announcement, there were countless cries of surprise. "Damn, half off, is this real? Who is it? What good person did this? Must have cost a lot of money, no need to worry about not being able to afford potions anymore. Thanks, big bro, long live Mel Town." Mayor Green looked at the result, trembling with joy. He said with gratitude, "Lord, you have brought true dawn to this town. Your character makes me admire you." Then he took out a key and said to Lin Jai, "But as a way of expressing my personal gratitude, please accept this gift." Mayor Green explained, "This is a two-story building that has been abandoned for a long time on the outskirts of town. Although it is simple, it is located in a quiet spot with a view of the windmills and fields. This bronze key and land certificate now belong to you forever. Please accept them. On behalf of the mayor, I respectfully invite you to settle down in Mel Town, a real home." Instantly, the system notified, "Congratulations, you have become the first player to receive personal real estate in New Era." The system displayed, "Contents. A place overlooking the windmills. Your legendary status in this town has been etched into history." Lin Jai's eyes widened when he saw this notification, and he was extremely surprised. Real estate ownership in New Era. He knew well that this had previously been an unattainable privilege. It was controlled by a smart AI that could evolve freely. The realism of the game was almost at the level of a second world. The scarcity of land was its core rule. The nature of this world wasn't like other games. The rich could just throw money around to buy an entire commercial street, or even spend money to buy the game just to have NPCs serve them. The truth was that in the vast world of New Era, every inch of land had its own owner or was owned by the system. In addition, there were primitive tribes or lairs occupied by extremely powerful monsters. The operating mechanism was that what players could possess was only the temporary right to use an area, renting a stall or a workshop. Even when a guild spent a huge amount of resources and reputation to obtain a limited territory, they could lose control at any time due to failed defenses or the system reclaiming it. Lin Jai looked at the key in front of him and thought, "Owning a private space that belongs entirely to me. This is truly a huge, unimaginable advantage in the early game. Whether it's for storing items, researching skills, or the potential for expanding functions in the future, both are very important." He decided to accept the key and said, "Thank you, Mayor Green. I really like this gift." Mayor Green said happily, "Your willingness to condescend to live here is even more moving and inspiring than the golden statue in the central square." The system notified, "Unlock teleportation functionality within Mel Town. Also unlock the ability to repair worn weapons and equipment with a single button within the town. Unlock remote auction house functionality. Because of your noble character and selfless contributions, all spending here will permanently enjoy an additional 15% discount. Following that was a blessing. May the dawnlight forever shine upon and protect you. After negotiating, Lin Jai bid Mayor Green farewell and walked among the crowd. He walked and thought, since the mayor has lowered the taxes, I'll head to the market to buy some supplies. As he brushed past a person wearing a red cloak, the system suddenly warned. Target is using the pickpocket skill. Agility check successful. Lin Jai glanced at the red warning. His coin pouch had lost 100 copper coins. The person holding Lin Jai's money pouch gloated. Got it. Lin Jai hurriedly grabbed the person's shoulder and shouted, give that back. But the person had disappeared. All Lin Jai grabbed was a red cloak. He was furious, cursing, damn daylight robbery. This Mel town really needs to increase investment in security. Lin Jai wouldn't let the thief get away. He used all his speed to chase. Stop. In a dead-end alley, a long-haired girl panted, along with Lin Jai's figure. He looked at the silhouette and said, don't run anymore, there's no way out ahead. Zia Lion turned around, smirking. That's what I should be saying to you. The system introduced. Zia Lion of the Dark Alley, Level 6, Rogue Elite. Lin Jai recalled the 4 familiar silhouettes constantly ringing in his mind. Rogue Elite Level 5. He cracked his knuckles and said, almost forgot, Meltown still has a dark side that others don't know about. The owner of the Dark Alley, Zia Lion. She heard this and smirked. This kid has quite a bit of intelligence. Are you an internal test player? Lin Jai recalled that in his past life, he hadn't just been robbed by NPCs of the Dark Alley. This trick was too familiar. Zia Lion sat on a wooden crate and explained simply, someone paid to buy your life. You have to die. Lin Jai analyzed. So far, I've only offended 2 people, the Holy Knight Baal and the assassin of the evil Rex group. He asked Zia Lion back, who is the one who wants me dead? She didn't answer, only looked at Lin Jai with contempt. Lord Dawnblade, you should understand. Do you still want me to spell it out? Lin Jai smirked. True, that guy doesn't dare face me directly. He only dares to hire assassins for revenge. Zia Lion smoothed her hair and said, I'm just an NPC, taking money to do the job. The feud between players has nothing to do with me. She licked her lips, looking at Lin Jai with deadly eyes, and ordered, kill him. The people holding weapons behind her immediately rushed to attack Lin Jai. They were extremely aggressive, charging without regard for their lives, their target being him. In the dead-end alley, a chaotic brawl broke out, dust swirling so thick one couldn't tell who was who. When the dust settled, Lin Jai stood there holding his sword, surrounded by fragments of bodies dissipating into light. Zia Lion sat there, unexpectedly clapping in praise. Little brother is quite impressive. Lin Jai glanced at her, not at all politely asking any more. Zia Lion jumped down and said, all right, this is truly a losing business. If things aren't handled well, it's not even enough for medical bills for this useless bunch. She waved her hand, you guys go. Even if everyone rushed at once, you wouldn't be a match for Lord Dawnblade. The NPCs fled. Yes, big sister. Zia Lion clutched her head helplessly. NPCs in business have to calculate costs. She hoisted her weapon onto her shoulder, brushed past Lin Jai, and said, I'll report this to Rex like this. Zia Lion of the Dark Alley tried her best, but the opponent was tough, and we had to give up halfway. Hearing her, Lin Jai's veins popped with anger. Zia Lion provoked him further. Goodbye, little Dawnblade. Next time you come to the Dark Alley for a drink, just say my name. He looked at the woman's back, angrily saying, wait. Zia Lion heard Lin Jai call her and turned her head to ask, you're still not satisfied even after being let go? Lin Jai raised his hand, demanding his things back. Return my money pouch. She was unreasonable, holding his money pouch and saying, I was going to be compassionate and give you a way to live, and now you dare to haggle with me. Zia Lion's eyes were ice cold as she replied, this is the payment for sparing your life. What an idiot. Hearing those unreasonable words, he was extremely furious. I earn my money based on my own strength. You guys also have to rely on your own strength to take things away. Hearing that, Zia Lion didn't hold back either. Very well. Then the rewards and money on you will all belong to me. The 2 of them lunged at each other. Looking at their momentum, neither was losing to the other, but in terms of strength, could Zia Lion defeat Lin Jai? Zia Lion's weapon slashed and broke the sword in Lin Jai's hand. She provoked him blatantly, as if destroying a weapon. Lin Jai felt skeptical. That's not right. My memory of the Dark Alley from my previous life was just that it was a normal NPC at the black market. Zia Lion said, considering that handsome face of yours, do you need me to lend you some money to go to the blacksmith and buy a new weapon? Lin Jai didn't answer, but kept wondering to himself, Why has everything become so dramatic all of a sudden? Lin Jai's face was cast in shadow as he spoke slowly. Even if I have nothing but my bare hands. He clenched his fists and continued. I still won't let you off the hook. Zia Lion squinted, curled her lip, and drawled. The old provocation trick, how cliché. She slammed her sword into the ground. But I'm in a pretty good mood today, so I don't mind playing a few rounds with you. Zia Lion shouted the order. Boys, show him our Dark Ridge welcoming ritual. The henchmen cheered excitedly. Big Sister is invincible. Big Sister is invincible. They roared with spirit. Go, Big Sister is invincible. Lin Jai stood before the surrounding cheers. Zia Lion didn't wait any longer, lunging forward like a lightning bolt, her claws swiping toward him. Lin Jai immediately dodged to the side while mocking her. Too slow. He glanced back at the 2 strands of hair that had been sliced off by her claws. Zia Lion leaped into the air and shouted, Hey kid, how's this one? From midair, she unleashed a kick aimed straight at Lin Jai's head. Breaking into a sweat and gritting his teeth, he thought, this person. Lin Jai instantly used his bare hands to block Zia Lion's attack. She landed gracefully. After a few exchanges, Zia Lion silently praised him in her heart. He really is strong. Lin Jai's eyes turned icy. He clenched his fists and dashed rapidly toward her. Zia Lion quickly retaliated. Both leaped into the air, throwing punches at each other. How's this punch? After landing, she launched a kick at Lin Jai, but he dodged it by jumping. Zia Lion couldn't help but feel a tinge of regret. Almost got you. Not bad reflexes, kid. Zia Lion continued with another punch toward him. How about this time? Lin Jai immediately tightened his grip on her wrist with a fierce gaze. Seeing this, Zia Lion broke into a sweat, her eyes widening in shock. She instantly pulled her restrained arm away with lightning speed. He threw a powerful punch at Zia Lion, but she leaned back to evade it. Lin Jai's punch cracked the wall behind her, leaving a large fissure. Zia Lion curled her lip. Interesting. Without using a blade, I really can't take you down in a flash. He clenched his fists and frowned. Do you think continuing like this is worth it? Soon, the losses you suffer will outweigh anything you gain. She stared at him, stunned for a moment, then burst into hearty laughter. Damn, this guy is interesting. She summoned a coin purse, laughing as she said, forget it, I've lost interest. Zia Lion tossed the purse toward Lin Jai. Fighting to the bitter end over this small change is just wasting my precious business time. Immediately after, she turned to walk away. Boys, let's go, see you later. Lin Jai watched Zia Lion's back, muttering in confusion. What a strange woman. He opened the purse, feeling suspicious. Is it an illusion? Why does it feel heavier than before? He unexpectedly touched something that wasn't a coin. Lin Jai stared blankly at the eyeball in his palm. What is this? What the hell? The system notification popped up. Item sourced from Zia Lion of Dark Ridge. Her message displayed. A meeting gift for you. Don't be shy. Hope for pleasant cooperation in the future, Lord Dawnblade. He stared at the object in bewilderment. What the hell kind of cooperation is a severed eye? Lin Jai applied pressure with his fingers, causing the eye to crack. Suddenly, a violent tremor erupted in his left eye. He clutched his left eye and collapsed to his knees. It burns, the system suddenly announced. Received Legacy Divine Artifact, Eye of Truth. An eyeball of unknown origin, seemingly inextricably linked to some ancient conspiracy and mystery. This item was gifted to you by Zia Lion, the master of Dark Ridge, in a special manner. Once used, it grants you the ability to see through illusions and perceive the truth. Panting heavily, he whispered to himself. Pleasant cooperation? What an unexpected windfall. I've never even heard of this item. Lin Jai smiled with intrigue. It seems Meltdown in this life is far more interesting than I remembered. Scene transition to the next morning. In a crowded market, he walked around, thinking to himself, I wonder if I can find anything good. Lin Jai's attention was caught by a peddler's cry. Black stone, 1 copper coin a pile, take your pick. He stared intently at the items, standing before 2 crates of black stone, falling into deep thought. Black stone is the most common basic mineral in Era. Players break their backs mining to farm valuable magic crystals, having caused who knows how many mine collapses in the process. Thinking this, he turned to leave. These things were piled high in player inventories like mountains. Buying them would just take up space. They were considered garbage. Nobody would want them even if given away for free. Suddenly, a system notification displayed. Eye of Truth activated. A flash of light ignited in Lin Jai's eyes. HMPH, it activated on its own. His gaze locked onto one specific stone. Wait, that one. Lin Jai stared at that stone, thinking it didn't look like the others. As soon as he picked it up, the system notified him. Eye of Truth identification successful. Star-high stone detected. Lin Jai felt an excited urge to curse. Damn, the Eye of Truth is this overpowered. finding treasures just by taking a stroll. Lin Jai fished out a coin and flicked it to the seller, thinking, just take it for now. I'll study it later. He pointed at the stone and asked, "Is this for sale?" The old man immediately replied, "For sale, of course, for sale." He handed the stone over with both hands, fawning, "Sir, you really have a sharp eye for goods." But internally he sneered, "What a fool." He laughed, thinking, selling this useless stone for a copper coin. What a lucky day. Lin Jai smiled and clenched his fist. The stone in his palm shattered into debris. He opened his palm, silently praising, "A flawless star-high stone." The layer of black stone on the surface is a perfect disguise, completely undetectable by standard appraisal techniques. Lin Jai admired the star-high stone under the light. No wonder it was hidden among the rubble. If I sold this gem directly to an NPC, it would be worth more than 100 copper coins. Lin Jai stared at the star-high stone in contemplation. But as far as I know, star-high stone has a special function. The powder obtained from breaking down star-high stone can be used as a special material in alchemy. To maximize the value of this stone, I should try alchemy. In the world of Era, players have the freedom to choose their profession. Many even pick life skill classes as their main focus, typically tailors, blacksmiths, and jewelers. These professions have a low barrier to entry, functioning as extensions of real life, and are a great way to unwind after battles. Therefore, most players dabble in them. However, one life skill profession is an exception. Not only is it difficult to learn and expensive, but the work process is also inherently dangerous. Explosions resulting from failed alchemy can kill a player instantly. This is the alchemist and their curse. Lin Jai opened his system screen to check the current value of alchemical items. On the screen, a medium healing potion costs 10 copper coins, with a limit of 1 per day. If I follow the official government-published alchemy methods, the material costs will exceed the selling price of 1 copper coin, he calculated, mocking the price board. Any way you look at it, it's a loss. Not to mention alchemists suffer a 60% failure rate, which makes the actual cost nearly double the official market price, he thought to himself. Lin Jai looked over at the shivering man sitting on the ground selling medicine. This is why most players couldn't get rich through alchemy. In reality, the more they invested, the more they lost. He suddenly wore a cunning smile. But I've lived in the world of Era for 5 years. I know a few secret brewing methods. Lin Jai stepped toward a general store. The problem was that even with the recipe, he couldn't craft it without the most important material, star-high stone powder. As he bargained with the shopkeeper, he pondered, "But the item I got from Zia Lion gives me a chance to make a killing." From a distance, 2 strangers secretly followed Lin Jai. Jia Ba pointed forward. "Look at what he's buying now." Ata pouted, indifferent. "Leave him be, we'll just mimic whatever he buys. If he can make money, we can too." He held up a stone and smiled brightly. Since he has the title of Dawnblade, he's surely familiar with the system's business. "I saw him buy a black stone last time, so I'll try buying one too." Z asked blankly, That shopkeeper scammed me into buying a whole pile." On the other side, the shopkeeper, looking at the stone in his hand, wondered blankly, "Wait, did I sell this black stone too cheap?" He sat on a bench and browsed the system screen, buying enough medium glass bottles and cheap ingredients like green grass. 100 healing potions should be enough. The screen then displayed, "Star-high stone powder crafted." Oda asked curiously, "What, he crushed something?" Jiaba turned to scold him. "You idiot, it must be the black stone he bought earlier. He's surely trying to make some high-end goods. That stone is the key material." He smiled broadly. "Let's copy him." Oda nodded in agreement. "Right." Both simultaneously crushed their black stones. Both their systems announced that they had obtained black stone powder. Lin Jai carefully dropped the grass essence into the bottle. Originally, essence from green grass could only be processed into a basic herbal juice with weak effects. Then he continued to add the star-high stone powder. However, when catalyzed by the powder, the potency of the herbal juice was amplified many times over. Lin Jai stood up and walked toward the fountain ahead. ZBA asked blankly, "It looks like he's heading for the fountain. Is he about to perform some high-level ritual?" Oda replied, "Exactly, high-end production definitely requires high-level rituals. A luxurious place like a fountain might be the perfect spot for such rituals." He followed Lin Jai's actions and stuttered, "Wait." He raised the bottle to collect water from the fountain. Both men behind him froze. After collecting enough water, the liquid in the bottle blended into a fresh, vibrant green. The system notified him. "Medium healing potion obtained." Lin Jai said contentedly, "Good. The effect is exactly the same as the store-bought product." Both men watching him had one thought. Dawnblade is making fake medicine. The system notified him repeatedly. that healing potions were successfully crafted. Before long, Lin Jai had successfully crafted 100 healing potions and reached proficiency in alchemy. Lin Jai wiped his sweat, smiling satisfied. It seems the knowledge I accumulated before can be converted into wealth. Seeing the healing potions on the ground, passers-by gathered around. Where did you get these? How much? Can you sell them to me? I've used up my daily purchase limit. Can I buy a bulk order from you? An hour later, he happily announced, they're gone, sold out. Those who arrived late couldn't help but feel dejected. Lin Jai smiled and summoned his coin purse. As long as it was cheaper than the store by 1 copper coin, they sold out in an instant. Some even sold for a higher price. He happily looked at the purse full of coins and made a quick calculation. The capital was 100 copper coins. In just 1 hour, it turned into 1,000 copper coins. Lin Jai said contentedly, Griffin's reward is currently 10 times higher. I've made a killing today. Ata stood far away and spoke. We calculated wrong. Jiaba crossed his arms, curled his lip deviously. Dawnblade is selling real medicine at real prices. His formula must have come from secret intel during the testing phase. If it's announced, it will be a bombshell for the entire era business system. Jiaba clenched his fists excitedly. We must make a fortune before the official team patches this loophole. He immediately started brewing, putting black stone powder and grass into a bottle, shaking it, and adding some water. Damn, alchemy really is as easy as pie. Suddenly the system displayed, poison potion crafted. Oda exclaimed in horror. What? ZBA said blankly. Wrong formula. I watched every step very clearly. He held up the potion and stuttered. No, it's not wrong. This is a healing potion. It's just the color that's off. Ata pointed at the bottle and asked, Then do you dare drink it? Immediately after, an explosion rang out. The system notified. Player Zap has committed suicide. The crowd stood around blankly watching. What happened? What's going on? Damn, someone blew themselves up. Another lunatic. Lin Jai sighed to himself. Trying to brew without understanding the formula, they'll trigger the alchemy curse. I can only wish them better luck next time. He smiled, flipped a coin, and calculated. Next, I need to log out to process the money I just made. Lin Jai held the purse in his hand and smiled. The exchange was done, and he logged back into the real world in an old, dilapidated house. He took off his helmet and breathed a sigh of relief. Based on the rate of 1 copper coin equals 110,000 yuan, I exchanged 50 copper coins on the trading site before logging out. His phone vibrated. Notification. The exchanged amount of 5 million has been credited to your account. Lin Jai flashed a satisfied smile. That was fast. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed outside, forcing him to turn around. 3 debt collectors barged into the house. Hey, it's time to pay this month's debt, you old hag. His mother explained blankly. No, isn't it due at the end of the month? It's only the beginning of the month. The leader cursed in frustration. Damn it, I was supposed to wait until the end of the month, but I lost 1 million in era. Damn it, he retorted aggressively. If I can't get money from you two now, I'm going to be in a very bad mood. She stuttered in fear. I'm sorry, we don't have the money right now. Could you please give us a few more days? He narrowed his eyes and repeated, no money. Immediately after, one of the henchmen grabbed Zai Zai and pulled her toward them. His mother lunged at them, calling out anxiously, Zai Zai, but she was stopped by the leader who gripped her wrist. He placed a hand on her shoulder and spoke in a sinister tone. Your daughter is at a beautiful age, isn't she? If she's a virgin, she might fetch a good price. The leader looked up and asked, Where's your precious son? Don't tell me he's still hiding in the house playing games. What a loser. The 3 of them laughed boisterously. Maybe he should go out and do some manual labor. At least he could sell his body parts for some cash, right? Lin Jai's voice rang out from behind. 1 million, is it? He finished operating his phone, held it up, and asked, Is this enough? The guys laughed mockingly. This guy's still playing dumb, pretending to be a rich man. Suddenly, the leader's phone buzzed. Notification. You have received 1 million yuan. The leader checked his phone in confusion. Is this fake? The henchman asked in surprise. Boss, should you check your bank account? He looked at them coldly and repeated, Is it enough? Zai Zai shouted in shock. Brother, did you rob a bank? Lin Jai's mother asked in surprise. Son, where did you get the money? The 2 henchmen stared in horror at the figure on the phone. 1 million. 1 million. The leader stared at the amount and cursed. 1 million? Damn it! The henchman's eyes sparkled. It's really 1 million. The leader grabbed Lin Jai's collar and asked, You're just a loser who only knows how to play games. How could you have 1 million? Are you kidding me? Lin Jai waved to his mother. Mom, go into the room. The leader shouted unwillingly. Based on what? You can make 1 million. I want an explanation. He mocked him with a smirk. That's right, I am just a useless gamer. Naturally, I can only make money from playing games. He gritted his teeth in anger. Are you kidding me? I had to pay 1 million to play Era, and yet you made 1 million. The leader pointed his knife at the amount on the phone. This 1 million doesn't count as debt repayment. This is compensation for my loss. Lin Jai's face darkened as he asked coldly, "Oh, want to go back on your word?" He immediately raised his hand and squeezed the man's wrist, causing the knife to clatter to the ground. The leader broke into a cold sweat, his eyes widening in secret terror. "What is this? He's so fast." Lin Jai glanced at him coldly. "Unfortunately, I'm not just good at playing video games." With just a few moves, he had subdued the leader. The man shrieked in pain. "Ouch, ouch, ouch, you're really that loser gamer, Lin Jai." Lin Jai curled his lips in a sneer. "That's right, the one and only." The two lackeys shouted angrily, "You've got some nerve. If you want to die, let go of our boss." The leader shouted in fear, "Wait, don't do anything reckless." His whole body trembled as he bargained. "Brother, let's talk this through. My arm is about to break, ease up a little." He glared fiercely. "Who's your brother?" The leader broke out in a sweat looking at Lin Jai. This guy's aura was terrifying, like a demon returned from hell. He shouted viciously, "What, still want to cause trouble?" The man immediately denied it frantically. No, it's all a misunderstanding. I'm just trying to make a living. We don't need to take it this far. Now that you've paid the debt, we have no reason to mess with you anymore. Let me go." He turned to his two lackeys and asked, "Right, guys?" Both stammered in response. Right, that's right, boss." Lin Jai ordered coldly, "Get out of my house immediately." All three scurried out of the house in fear. "All right, we're leaving. Let's go quickly." The three family members watched in silence as the group scrambled away. Tixi heroically hugged his arm and warned, "You people are so rude, do you know that? If I see you again, I'll have my brother deal with you." All three guys clasped their hands together and wept. "We won't do it again. We won't do it again." She suddenly spoke up. "Brother, are you not planning to explain?" Lin Jai repeated blankly, "Explain what?" She pouted and pleaded, "Tell me, how did an undercover millionaire end up in our house?" Lin Jai was covered in sweat, silently calling for help. "Damn it! How do I explain this without worrying the family?" Seeing him lost in thought without giving an answer, Tixi asked irritably, "Hurry up and explain. How did an undercover millionaire end up in our house?" Looking at the vibrant younger sister before him, Lin Jai felt incredibly lucky. Rebirth is truly a blessing. My sister is still alive and healthy. He began to sink into the memories of his past life. In that life, because his father had passed away and his sister was severely ill, the house was burdened with debt, and he couldn't shoulder the family's responsibilities. With a job application in hand, Lin Jai had gone from one company to the next for interviews, but the results were not as hoped. The rejections came continuously. "Go back and wait for news. If there's a suitable opportunity, we will contact you." Those failures made him completely devastated. At that time, the job market was incredibly difficult. An ordinary person like him seemed to have no chance of finding a job. During that time, he suddenly saw a staff member passing out flyers. "Play the game New Era." The staff member handed a flyer toward him. "An endless, mysterious world with countless treasures is waiting for every player to discover." One phrase from the staff member reached Lin Jai's ears, and it was as if he had found a path to survival. "You can make a lot of money playing this game." And that was the beginning of everything. He thought to himself, the reason for becoming a player was initially embarrassing. It was to make money. While Lin Jai was standing in a corner deep in thought, a voice rang out. "Hey, check out that newbie warrior." He turned his head and saw a squad leader from some gold team inviting him. "We need someone who isn't afraid of dying, you in." He raised his hand and offered a price to Lin Jai. "One match. The payment is 2 copper coins." He was short on money at the time, so he agreed without hesitation. From then on, every battle was an encounter with death. But as long as he survived, he could make money. After many life-and-death battles, the gold team leader exclaimed, "You're really tough, aren't you?" He glanced at him. "Every time you survive until the end. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were using some kind of cheat." Lin Jai sat on the ground, his body covered in wounds. Hearing that, he could only remain speechless. Then the gold team leader gave him his pay, adding 1 extra copper coin out of respect for how hard he had worked. Afterward, he walked away with his head held high. "Stay in touch." Lin Jai stood silently in place watching the gold team leader leave, his hand clutching the few meager coins. Some time later, thanks to his experience of frequently clashing with death, his combat skills became more and more mature. In subsequent battles, even when the whole team was wiped out, he survived to the end, even fighting bosses alone. And as his skills became more refined, he also had new ideals. He wanted to be the strongest player, Pure skill was enough to do it. He stood upon arduous challenges, survival battles, and also on the path to becoming the strongest. More importantly, on that path, he could make money and protect the people most important to him. Lin Jai was determined. I will definitely be the strongest. Afterward, he met brothers to fight alongside, sharing the same goals. Bailey Changcheng and Lin Jai became teammates. Since then, we have made a pact to rely on our own strength to become the strongest class. After that, the two made a pact in battle. One shouted, "One more match to decide the winner. Come on, let's see who's stronger." The other replied, "Deal." The spectators below the stage whispered, Hey, that guy is Lin Jai, nicknamed the Immortal God of War. Only the most dangerous group battles can get him to join. I've seen his moves. Not something an ordinary person could do. He's simply a monster. Hard to imagine, a warrior from the lowest class can make it into the top 10 of the strongest combat power rankings. That list is all top-tier figures. From the battles that had passed, the pay he received for his participation skyrocketed, and his family's financial crisis gradually improved. And until one time, the top-tier matchmaker spoke up. You must admit defeat in this match. Lin Jai was extremely angry, slamming his hand on the table, shouting, Why can't I win? He felt extremely confused. I clearly have the strength to fight for the top spot. I also dream of becoming the strongest, standing at the pinnacle of new era, Lin Jai said in a daze. Not to mention that just winning this final match could earn 100 million in prize money, which could cure my sister's illness immediately. He looked straight at the matchmaker and asked loudly, On what basis must I admit defeat? He began to explain. The top-tier decision match of new era is actually a game manipulated by money. A commoner like you cannot block the path of the new star created by capital, so you are forced to lose. Not to mention your opponent is your good brother, Bailey Changcheng. Losing to him is considered doing him a favor. Lin Jai turned sharply and replied with trust. Bailey wouldn't betray our pact. He knows why I became a player, so I have to give it my all. He was extremely determined. I must become the strongest, bet everything, and defeat Bailey Changcheng. In Lin Jai's heart, he always knew clearly that he, a commoner, dreamed of using his strength to change his destiny. He knew that continuing to follow this path was the right choice. The matchmaker behind him shouted, Even if you don't admit defeat, capital will find a way to make you admit defeat. He tried to persuade him. Instead of falling from the peak, why not take this opportunity to retreat? But Lin Jai knew he couldn't back down. That kid Bailey had an extraordinary background. No matter how many times he fell, he would have a chance to start over. But a commoner like him, falling once, would never be able to stand up again. He didn't have a second chance. Suddenly, Lin Jai's phone rang. He picked up. Hello, what's wrong, Mom? Information like a bolt from the blue hit him. Little T. The hospital said the equipment suddenly malfunctioned. The situation is worsening. Mom has no other choice. The phone fell from his hand, but the voice still echoed throughout the space. Admit defeat, Ajay. At the hospital, someone in black told Mom. At that moment, Lin Jai felt as if he had lost all his strength. He collapsed and sobbed into his hands. The sister returned to reality. That memory made him involuntarily shed tears. Tixi asked in confusion, Brother, are you crying? Seeing her worried, he quickly wiped his tears and smiled brightly to comfort her. Why would I cry? Silly sister, I'm clearly laughing because I'm too happy. Tixi felt her brother's abnormality. You're strange today. You just cried and now you're laughing. Can you really make 1 million playing games? Lin Jai began to make up a story. Yeah, because I opened a mysterious box. One piece of gear sold for a sky-high price. We can live well now. She heard that and was extremely excited. Oh, there's such a good thing. Bring the headset out for me to play. Lin Jai couldn't have expected things to turn out like this, shouting in worry. Minors are forbidden from playing. In this game, the reasons for becoming a player vary from person to person. Among the goals for overcoming life-and-death battles, some are for honor, some for dreams. Those battles aren't easy, and some just want to escape reality. Standing in the middle of the battle, Lin Jai thought to himself, As for me, the reason is simple, to become the strongest. People always conclude that those from the lowest social classes are incredibly resilient, born to trade their lives for money, like monsters. They can always survive the most difficult and dangerous situations. As one of those from the lower class, Lin Jai understood very clearly one thing that they didn't know behind those miracles. For those people, and for him too, there is a reason to be forced to survive. To become the strongest, to be the last survivor, to protect the people most important to him. That is the reason he became a player. Back to reality, Lin Jai realized. In this life, if I want to be the strongest, I need to buy a few things first. The scene shifted to another place. the official authorized store of New Era, the boundary of space. Entering the store, Lin Jai stood deep in thought in front of an extremely expensive booth. Looking at those items, he remembered that in the past, it wasn't until the later stages that he could use his savings to buy gear 2 levels lower than this one. But Bailey, he realized this was the difference between them, thinking to himself. He was already using this high-end Supreme Thunder and Lightning gear. The shopkeeper saw Lin Jai and greeted him warmly. "Is it you? Lin Jai, what's wrong? Is that beginner gear not comfortable enough?" He looked straight at the shopkeeper and replied, "I want to upgrade to the Supreme Thunder and Lightning." He heard that and was extremely surprised. "What did you say? Supreme Thunder and Lightning? No way." He began to lecture. "Young people having dreams is good, but you can't have delusions. You grind for 10 years, I'm afraid you won't even be able to touch that equipment." Suddenly, someone stepped forward, slamming their hand on the table. "Supreme Thunder and Lightning, full payment up front." The shopkeeper saw this person and immediately switched to fawning mode. "Young Master Rex truly has an eye for quality. This Supreme Thunder and Lightning is the only model left in the entire city, prepared specifically for a high-end player like you." Lin Jai saw this and sighed inwardly. Hearing this tone, it's an acquaintance. Suddenly, Mikey and Ajay stood behind, complaining. "Damn it, last time we were beaten by that bastard Lin Jai." Rex heard that and turned sharply. "If it weren't for the garbage gear, I would have beaten him until he retreated." Suddenly, his eyes swept over and caught Lin Jai standing right next to him, and he froze. "Damn." Regaining his senses, he shouted in horror, "Lin Jai, why are you everywhere?" He glanced over calmly. "It wouldn't be an enemy if we didn't meet again. What did I say last time? Still want to get beaten again." Rex was covered in cold sweat but still tried to act tough. "HMPH, looks like that Zia Lion didn't deal with you in the game. You're pretty lucky." He was extremely confident, realizing, but where is this? It's reality. Rex the villain has more say than anyone. Mikey behind suddenly reminded him, "Boss, I think you said this line in Meltdown." Ajay added, "That's right, sounds familiar." He hurriedly explained to save his image. "That guy cheated in the game, so we were defeated. You can't play dirty in reality. 3 of us can't even handle one of him." The shopkeeper saw the situation was extremely tense and hurriedly stepped in to mediate. "Everyone, don't fight here. Opening a shop isn't easy." Then he turned toward him. "Lin Jai, don't be agitated. That is young Master Rex. Kneel and apologize. I'm afraid if you break the items in my shop, you won't be able to pay for the damages." Lin Jai sighed. "Gaming is gaming. Don't bring things into real life. I originally intended to let you guys go." Rex couldn't bear this insult, roaring, "Damn it, go to hell. Today I must take back the face I lost in the game." Mikey and Ajay also angrily gritted their teeth. "Do you know how long it took us to grind our levels? How dare you make us drop levels?" Immediately after, Rex rushed toward him with a knife. "Enough talk, die Lin Jai." He watched Rex running toward him, sparks flashing in his eyes. At that moment, Lin Jai suddenly felt time slow down. So 5 years of fighting in the Shura hell of New Era had sharpened my mind, increased my reflexes, and muscle memory had increased significantly as well. That adaptation and transformation also led to a result. Because his reaction time during combat was too fast, in his eyes, it produced an effect similar to slowed time. And just like now in reality, it was the same. Lin Jai easily dodged Rex's attack. He saw that and froze in place, doubting his existence. "Damn, can you cheat in reality too?" Without giving Rex time to react, Lin Jai threw a powerful punch at him. The punch was so hard and fast that Rex saw stars. He was in so much pain that he screamed, his face covered in tears and snot, looking extremely pathetic. Lin Jai looked down at Rex from above. "You can't cheat in reality, brother." Then he looked toward Mikey and Ajay. "I have plenty of time, you two come at me too." Both saw that and ran away in fear, abandoning their teammate. "Boss, we're leaving first, see you at the usual spot." Lin Jai didn't mind, turned back to the counter and pushed the card toward the owner. "Boss, full payment for the Supreme Thunder and Lightning." The owner saw him being so generous and was extremely bewildered. You have that much money, real or fake?" He replied calmly. "The balance on it is enough." After finishing the transaction, the shopkeeper walked him to the door, smiling and waving. "Welcome back next time." While carrying the newly bought Supreme Thunder and Lightning on the road, Lin Jai suddenly ran into someone. It turned out to be Hawk. He saw him and suddenly showed a face full of fear. Lin Jai saw Hawk standing motionless and suddenly realized, "Is it this guy?" Then he asked, "Earlier inside, why didn't you rush up like your brothers?" He was so scared that his whole body stiffened, and it took a long time for him to stammer out a few words. I. Hawk was so anxious he broke out in a cold sweat. I want to." Suddenly he knelt before Lin Jai. I want to become stronger." He saw that and was extremely surprised. Looking at Hawk kneeling on the ground and let out an "Oh." Hawk continued to introduce himself. "I am Hawk, a punishment knight. Please, Lord Dawnblade." Speaking to this point, he hesitated for a moment and then determinedly raised his head to plead. "Take me as your student." Lin Jai heard that and smiled coldly, turning his back to walk away. "Take a student? I have no intention of doing that." But at this point, Hawk definitely wouldn't give up. "Wait, please listen to me. From the day I met you, I saw you as a god of war returned from hell." He hugged Lin Jai tightly and continued. "Then I realized something important. You are a strong person." Hawk hugged Lin Jai's leg, trembling, expressing his heart. "I chose the blazing judgment talent because I was afraid. Afraid to charge forward, afraid to get hurt, afraid of real responsibility." He admitted, "So I used a flashy but impractical talent to hide my own weakness." And after those battles, Hawk also realized, "I am a loser." Currently, he wanted to change. "I want to honestly become stronger, to become a strong existence like you. So please take me as your student." Lin Jai still refused. "I'm very sorry, I have no plans to take students right now." He thought to himself, this idiot doesn't know about that yet. Immediately after, Lin Jai helped Hawk up and said calmly, "But maybe later." Hearing that sentence, his eyes lit up. "Lord Dawnblade, you didn't refuse, did you?" Watching Hawk cheering joyfully behind him, he thought to himself, when one realizes one's own weakness, one has already become strong. He turned back and smiled, saying, "New era is updating, preparing to launch version 1.01. Wait until then, I will observe you and then decide." He clenched his hands with determination. "I will use time to prove myself worthy of becoming a student of Dawnblade." Lin Jai smiled and stepped forward. The gears of fate. At this moment, things happened that were completely different from the previous life. No one could predict the small changes. Lin Jai slowly put the game headset on his head, his eyes full of anticipation. As soon as it was activated, the headset immediately glowed, starting the familiar login system. In the blink of an eye, his consciousness entered the vast, familiar game world. Standing in front of the familiar house, Lin Jai frowned slightly. Since Mayor Green gave him this key, he hadn't been here once. Looks like after the update, the game had set his login location as his own house. Stepping inside the house, he exhaled and said, "I'm home." At that moment, the system voice sounded in his ear. "Welcome home, Lord Dawnblade." This update has unlocked the house renovation feature. It continued to echo throughout the quiet space. "You can renovate this house as you wish, and the land within a 500 m radius around that area has been designated as your inherent territory." The mechanical sound continued to echo clearly. "The higher your reputation in the New Era world, the more land benefits you will receive later." Hearing the notification, Lin Jai was stunned. To think the game hid this feature. In the previous life, he didn't have a house, so he didn't know about this. Looking around the room, he helplessly shook his head and sighed. "But this house is completely empty. It's basically unlivable." After a moment of thought, Lin Jai immediately started purchasing all the necessary supplies. He couldn't help but grumble. "So the mayor handed me a completely empty, unfinished house, just waiting for me to spend all the money I worked so hard to earn on renovations." In reality, these necessary expenses were enough to buy a luxury villa. What a businessman. After a few seconds of silent reflection, Lin Jai furrowed his brow and spoke up. However, glancing around the entire house again, he nodded in satisfaction and said, "It doesn't look too bad. Money spent isn't wasted. I can always earn it back later." Just then, a steady and unexpected knock sounded on the door from outside. With a hint of caution, Lin Jai walked slowly toward the main door in front. Stopping before the door, he frowned slightly and asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" Standing outside the door with a familiar, faint smile, Zia Lion spoke softly. "Greetings, Lord Dawnblade." As soon as he saw the person in front of him, a strong sense of wariness, a bad premonition, rose instantly in his heart. Leaning lightly against the door frame, she curled her lips meaningfully and said, "We can be considered old friends, so why aren't you welcoming me?" Looking at the dangerous smile of his guest, Lin Jai remained silently vigilant. Zia Lion held all the dark power in Meltown. Nothing good ever came from getting involved with her. Remembering the events of his past life, he recalled that Era had many malicious PvP players. Once they turned, red-named, they couldn't move normally in most public areas. Folding his arms and thinking in silence, he continued to recall familiar information. An underworld NPC like Zia Lion would gather these players and provide them with support services. Lin Jai's gaze grew colder when remembering Zia Lion's reputation. Naturally, it came with a premium. The players who came looking for Zia Lion were never up to any good. Maintaining the mysterious smile on her lips, she said slowly, "I have a way for you to make money." He immediately showed suspicion and replied coldly, "This is the first time I've heard of an NPC taking the initiative to come to my door to offer a quest. Not interested, thanks." No sooner had he finished speaking than Zia Lion pushed the door open and entered the Mel townhouse. "Nobody else can do this quest but you." After casually sitting down on the sofa, she slowly recounted. "A den of man-eating magical beasts has appeared in the West Wind Ridge, west of the town." Hearing this, Lin Jai raised his eyebrows in surprise and asked in a low voice, "There's such a thing?" Zia Lion's gaze grew a bit colder when mentioning that matter. "That thing is very strong. Many of my subordinates have been eaten by it, so I want to find someone to deal with it." Having heard the whole story, he crossed his arms and thought for a moment before calmly asking, "Your people usually only operate near the town, right? Why go all the way to a remote place like West Wind Ridge just to get themselves killed?" She immediately replied coldly, "The rule in our line of work is not to ask too many questions. You just need to say whether you'll do it or not. The reward is 100 copper coins." Upon hearing that price, Lin Jai immediately snatched the apple from Zia Lion's hand and said, 10 silver coins." She immediately widened her eyes in annoyance and shouted, "You dare to quote such a high price to me? 10 silver coins is equivalent to 10,000 copper coins, 100 times the amount." Taking a bite of the apple, he replied calmly, "Since this is a quest that came to my door, the price is naturally up to me. 10 silver coins is my price." Hearing this, Zia Lion let out a cold laugh, crossed her arms, and continued, "With that kind of money, I could hire players from the entire town to work for me. Why would I need to find you?" Lin Jai's gaze grew sharper. "Coming all the way to find me, there must be a reason. If you won't tell the truth, let me speak for you." Hearing those words, she raised her eyebrows with interest and said, "Interesting, go ahead and try." Lin Jai quickly formulated his hypothesis. Zia Lion's treasure vault was in West Wind Ridge. It was a hidden dungeon. After the game update, the cave had been invaded by new monsters. Spinning the apple in his hand, Lin Jai calmly looked at Zia Lion and said, "You want to recover your money, but you can't find anyone suitable to go in." Seeing her reaction change slightly, he continued slowly, "The money you robbed and hid in there probably isn't just 10 silver coins, is it? It's probably 100 gold coins or more, plus countless precious treasures." Hearing that, her expression changed instantly, her eyes full of suspicion. "How do you know? You're just a new player." Regarding that, facing those probing eyes, Lin Jai only silently sneered. "I'm a reborn soul. What secret about an NPC don't I know?" Recalling the events of the past, his gaze grew complex. "In my previous life, the treasure hunt caused a frenzy across the whole server, and I participated too. Naturally, that happened after Mel Town was destroyed in the early stages." Thinking of that dark future, Lin Jai's gaze grew cold. "Back then, Zia Lion fell into the path of evil. She killed too many innocent players and was finally wiped out by a raid group. Zia Lion of Dark Ridge eventually became nothing more than a minor NPC story in Era's history." After a few seconds of silence, he looked straight at Zia Lion and said slowly, "But now I want to discuss that money with you. If I report this matter to Mayor Green." The corner of Lin Jai's mouth curled up dangerously as he applied pressure. "Do you think Zia Lion of Dark Ridge will be able to survive until the next dungeon?" Hearing the threat, she let out a cold, dismissive huff. "That old man doesn't dare to interfere in my business." Hearing the price, Zia Lion frowned in heartache and spoke, 10 silver coins? As a money grubber like me, I absolutely cannot pull out such a huge sum." Seeing her reaction, he burst into laughter and said calmly, "Since you're so greedy, I can do this job for free." Hearing the unexpected reply, Zia Lion's eyes widened in disbelief as she asked, "What? Are you really not charging money?" Lin Jai's gaze turned serious. "I want you to abandon your status as the master of Dark Ridge." He thought to himself, becoming a villain takes only a single thought. That's how it is in reality and with NPCs too. Remembering their first meeting, Lin Jai's eyes grew deep. "When I first met Zia Lion, I felt she wasn't like the NPC in my memories. Her story was only a minor plot point in the game's overall narrative." A chaotic scene from those days appeared in his mind. Later, Mel Town was breached, and the Cantor Griffin became the new ruler. Lin Jai's gaze grew cold when remembering that outcome. Mayor Green was killed, and Zia Lion submitted to the brutal Griffin, becoming an accomplice to evil. A complex, indescribable feeling rose in his heart. He continued to think in silence. She believed in the inherent evil of mankind, turning that belief into a motivator for hatred to grow uncontrollably in her heart. She became an accomplice to evil, a villain, a boss for the antagonist faction, and then she was killed. Looking at the Zia Lion before him, at this moment, Lin Jai's eyes suddenly changed. But in this life, I unexpectedly discovered another side to this NPC that no one else knows about. Zia Lion wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and laughed. Without a blade, I really can't take you down for the moment. She threw an item toward him and smiled with interest. A meeting gift for you. Don't be shy. Hope for pleasant cooperation in the future, Lord Dawnblade. Remembering the passionate Zia Lion from that year, Lin Jai thought to himself. She was also someone who was once excited by a simple and fun battle. This time, the scales of fate might tip slightly in the opposite direction. Hearing the previous request, her expression changed instantly, and she whispered, "No way." He immediately activated his special skill, Eye of Truth. Information instantly appeared in Lin Jai's mind. The Eye of Truth has the ability to detect when an NPC is lying. Zia Lion gritted her teeth in annoyance. This bastard is using the item I gave him to probe me. Lin Jai drew his conclusion slowly. The things inside are truly very important to Zia Lion of Dark Ridge, so important she would keep them even at the cost of everything else. Hearing that, she suddenly drew her sword and pointed it straight at him, saying coldly, "I respect you, Lord Dawnblade." Facing the cold sword tip, Lin Jai remained calm and replied, "This is my territory, Zia Lion. You'd better show some respect. Only I can help you retrieve your things." Hearing those words, Zia Lion finally lowered her sword slowly. "This money is what I've saved my entire life. If I stop doing evil after this, it will be enough to trade in this society." "I agree. This quest is entrusted to you. You must complete it." Lin Jai helplessly rubbed his temples and muttered, "To think I actually accepted a pro bono quest from Zia Lion." He sighed in resignation. My head must have been caught in a door. The system interface suddenly popped up, confirming the quest had been accepted. With a few taps on the screen, Zia Lion spoke calmly. "All right, the location is marked on your map." Lin Jai immediately reached out his hand and said casually, "Hand over the weapon." She frowned in confusion. "What's the meaning of this? You want money? Just a moment ago you said you'd do it for free." He replied calmly and concisely, "The weapon." Zia Lion raised an eyebrow and asked again in confusion, "What weapon?" Recalling the previous incident, Lin Jai crossed his arms and said calmly, "Last time you used one slash to snap my sword. I still haven't found a suitable replacement. Didn't you say you compensate me?" She replied coldly with a firm voice, "I don't use swords, only blades." After a few seconds of silent thought, Zia Lion finally slowly drew her weapon. "Its name is Night Wanderer Ghost." Observing the blade before him, he gave his assessment. "The weapon is long enough, has an edge, and can be used with both hands. For me, it's not much different from a sword." He tested a few swings in the air, inwardly assessing. Zia Lion's blade seems heavier than it looks. Immediately after, the system quickly brought up all the stats and special effects of the weapon. With a hint of interest, he immediately swung the blade, easily slicing through the tree branch in front of him. Lin Jai spoke slowly. "If it weren't for Zia Lion's marker, finding the entrance would probably take me all day." Sensing an abnormal aura, he became immediately vigilant. That mysterious beast must be here. Just then, a ferocious wild boar rushed out from the grass ahead. Looking at the information box appearing above the monster's head, Lin Jai murmured, "Level 1 wild boar." Looking at the boar in front of him, he just laughed coldly. In the game era, this guy is basically food. At that moment, a massive tail swept across the sky above Lin Jai's head. Watching the shadow that had just flashed through the air, he felt a massive shock in his heart. "What?" Lin Jai's pupils contracted in disbelief as he looked up. "You've got to be kidding me, right?" Feeling the terrifying pressure, he instinctively gripped his sword hilt. "Why is it here?" Lin Jai blurted out involuntarily, "A dragon!" At that instant, a cold system voice rang in his ears. "Black Dragon Zodiac level 8 detected. Warning, your current level is 2. Looking down from above with a gaze of contempt, Zodiac spoke coldly. "Foolish human, to think you're extraordinary and yet dare to challenge me. How laughable." From the communication screen on the other side, Zia Lion's voice suddenly rang out. "You encountered it. That was fast." He immediately flew into a rage and shouted, "You mean this thing? You intended to send me here to die?" Lin Jai continued gritting his teeth. "A boss at this level requires at least a 5-man group to handle." She replied lazily and calmly. "The difficulty of the wild boss increases with the number of participating players. If you can't handle this yourself, calling more people will only make things worse." Leaning back in the hot water, Zia Lion looked at the screen and laughed with interest. "Besides, little Dawnblade, I once fought you one-on-one. Your skill level is far better than those useless level 4-5 chumps." Lin Jai gradually realized a huge abnormality. Monsters around the novice town shouldn't exceed level 4. Even Cantor Griffin was only just under level 5. A level 8 black dragon appearing here definitely meant something was wrong. Hearing his constant complaints, she only laughed and said calmly, "You were able to use solo micromanagement to take down Griffin before. You must have a way to handle this dragon, right?" Tightening his grip on the blade, Lin Jai frowned helplessly. "That's a 6-level difference." He gritted his teeth and continued, "Is this a gap that can be bridged by micromanagement?" Zodiac's voice suddenly rang out with absolute pressure and coldness. "Intruder, now that you have reached my lair, I will benevolently grant you 2 choices. I can completely annihilate you right here, and naturally, not even your ashes will remain." Carrying a tone of absolute arrogance, it continued slowly. "Additionally, I am also very happy to bestow a favor, specifically by accepting a few more newcomers into my ranks of servants. You only need to kneel here and praise the prestige of me, Zodiac." Hearing the grandiose threat, Lin Jai just laughed coldly and replied, "Not interested. I'm only here to remind you that you seem to be illegally occupying someone else's house." Hearing this, it flew into a rage, its golden eyes burning with terrifying murderous intent. "How dare you? The treasures in this vault rightfully belong to me, Zodiac." He silently mused. The game era has really thoroughly exploited people's biases about dragons, arrogant, rude, slaves to wealth. Right, it seems Zia Lion of the Dark Street is like that too. Provoked, Zodiac roared in fury and bellowed, "Then prepare to face my punishment." The cold system voice immediately sounded. "Black Dragon Zodiac has locked onto you for an attack." Lin Jai felt extremely serious in his heart. Even in my past life, I had defeated a young black dragon of the same level, but it required a team of 8 people, and I had already reached level 3. He silently analyzed the current situation. In Era, the attribute difference between a level 2 and level 3 character is almost double. Even though I brought my experience and techniques from my past life. Tightening his grip on the blade, Lin Jai continued to think seriously. But currently this body's stats are too poor. He gritted his teeth helplessly. "Zia Lion, you've pulled a fast one on me." At that moment, Lin Jai immediately leaned to dodge the incredibly powerful attack. During the battle, Lin Jai's mind remained extremely clear to analyze. Black dragons usually only have 4 attacks: fire breath, claw slash, bite, and tail sweep. If any of those hits, it's enough to one-shot me. Zodiac immediately roared in fury. "Despicable human, how dare you challenge my authority?" He silently memorized every minor movement. Every attack had a slight vibration. When it exhaled, it would tilt its head back slightly to inhale. When it swung its tail, it would brace its body on its front legs and twist. Staring at Zodiac, Lin Jai continued to think with focus. When it bites, it quickly leans back, then opens its mouth and lunges forward. As for the fan-shaped claw attack, there's a half-second opening after the attack. Realizing the movement just then, Lin Jai's eyes lit up. A half-second has passed since the claw attack. Not missing the opportunity, he immediately gripped his sword hilt. This was the moment for a counterattack. Immediately after, Lin Jai lunged forward, swinging Night Wanderer Ghost hard towards Zodiac. Caught off guard by the sudden counterattack, it immediately roared in lethal fury. "Damn mosquito." Seeing the giant mouth lunging toward him, Lin Jai's expression shifted. "Bite, I can't escape in time." In the critical moment, he immediately activated a defensive skill and shouted, "Griffin's Golden Bell." Instantly, a brilliant golden light erupted, covering Lin Jai's body. Borrowing the opportunity from the defensive skill, he immediately counterattacked, forcing Zodiac to retreat. Seeing the golden light layer around his opponent's body, it roared in shock. "What is that?" Panting after that blow, Lin Jai wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Still lucky enough to reclaim my life. If I can't break the defense, how can I win? I need to think of a way." Zodiac immediately laughed coldly with disdain. "Looks like that item of yours can't be used anymore." Concentrating his focus, Lin Jai immediately realized the dangerous skill was Dragon Breath Sweep. It would continuously spray fire in a fan shape. If fired directly, it was fundamentally impossible to dodge. Lin Jai's gaze quickly became serious as he continued to calculate. Fighting against dragons, normal players will try to keep a safe distance. However, increasing distance increases the range of the breath attack, making it even more dangerous. Staring at its giant body, Lin Jai's eyes sharpened. The true safe distance. He quickly lunged forward, raising his blade to attack. In reality, it has to be 0. Zodiac roared in shock. "What? How is it so fast?" A feeling of disbelief gradually arose in its heart. The speed of this human player is completely unlike a level 2. Before it could react, Lin Jai continued to swing Night Wanderer Ghost down again. He immediately frowned in annoyance and said, "What kind of named blade is this? It doesn't even deal damage. The giant tail behind it is completely intact after the last attack. Zodiac immediately laughed in disdain. Even my, Zodiac's, dragon scales cannot be broken. I overestimated you, trash. Just then, from the communication device in the distance, Zia Lion's voice suddenly rang out. We almost forgot to mention one thing. Night Wanderer Ghost is a bit picky with strangers. Hearing the belated explanation, Lin Jai frowned in annoyance. Something as important as this, why mention it now? He quickly felt the anomaly of the blade. The legacy of this weapon has a lot of spiritual intuition. Those not recognized by it cannot bring out the full potential of this blade. Lin Jai's eyes grew serious as he continued to ask, "What are the conditions to be recognized?" She replied calmly, "You must prove that you have undergone a life-or-death trial." In his heart, he quickly recalled countless quests he had experienced. In the game, I've seen many strange conditions. But when it comes to facing life and death, the corner of Lin Jai's mouth curled up confidently during the tense battle. Well, I am the top of the food chain. Seeing the fire gathering again, he became highly vigilant. Dragon breath sweep, here it comes again. Just as Zodiac sprayed a giant sea of fire, Lin Jai immediately leaned to dodge with extreme speed. While moving continuously through the scorching sea of fire, he gradually changed direction to move toward it. Lin Jai's gaze locked onto Zodiac's neck and silently calculated. The target is the 3-inch mark on the dragon's neck. Seeing the special scales reflecting the light, he immediately confirmed the target. That is its reverse scale. As soon as he closed the distance, Lin Jai swung Night Wanderer Ghost hard and shouted, "Slash!" Realizing the abnormal danger, it immediately flapped its wings to retreat hard, evading the attack. Zodiac immediately laughed coldly in disdain. "Naive human, do you think this can hurt me?" After the missed attack, he quickly landed and stabilized his body in the middle of the battlefield. Looking up at it flying in the air, Lin Jai helplessly frowned. I forgot this guy can fly. Immediately after, he activated his enhancement skill, enhanced grip strength. Zia Lion's expression changed immediately and she said, "Before was fine, but this time is a dragon breath charge. Your equipment and current body absolutely cannot block that." Lin Jai's gaze remained extremely calm as he tightened his grip on Night Wanderer Ghost. If this blade only accepts those who aren't afraid of death. The scorching flames continued to gather in Zodiac's mouth, signaling that a new attack was about to descend. The corners of his mouth slowly curled up with confidence in the extremely dangerous situation. Then the famous blade in my hand now. Lin Jai's gaze became terrifyingly cold. Must be worshipped by it like a god. He lunged forward decisively, his spirit aggressive. Because I am the war god who has returned from hell. At that moment, the system voice rang out mechanically. Hidden skill unlocked, armor break. Without a moment's hesitation, he stomped hard on the ground and lunged straight toward it. She was immediately shocked in her heart. What? To be able to release power in such a short time. Sensing the abnormal pressure from his opponent, a sense of danger began to arise in Zodiac's heart. This tiny human actually makes me feel danger. It immediately roared in fury. Despicable human, what right and ability do you have? Zodiac's golden eyes burned with murderous intent as it continued to roar fiercely. I will make you die in excruciating pain, and make you regret your insolence today. Lin Jai's mind was still extremely clear as he analyzed the situation. The skills of this blade are suitable right now. If I engage this dragon in close combat and risk everything on one all-out strike, I can defeat it. It immediately laughed contemptuously. Finally, you've made a foolish choice. The ignorant player beat its giant wings in midair. Zodiac looked down coldly. Now you've jumped into the air. You've personally thrown away your final chance to dodge. Amidst the murderous air, his gaze remained calm. Absolutely. Correct, just one small mistake in this leap is enough to fall straight into hell. Feeling its scorching breath rushing toward him, Lin Jai calculated silently. The boundary between life and death is decided in just a few milliseconds. Within his heart, there wasn't a trace of wavering. But as for me, I can absolutely do it perfectly without a moment of hesitation. It's almost like an obsession. Lin Jai secretly poured all his willpower into one final strike, trusting the blade in his hands, gripping it tightly. His breath burning, every inch of his flesh searing, all the willpower he had condensed in this moment. Watching the tiny human still lunging forward without fear, Zodiac immediately roared with savage ferocity. Die, you piece of trash. His gaze never wavered for a single second. I believe in these things. In this chaotic world, the only thing I can trust with my life. Amidst the flaming air, Lin Jai's lips curled into a resolute smile. This bet. At the exact moment the blades were about to collide, he trusted himself completely. Besides him winning, no other possibility existed. The impact was catastrophic. The force of the strike pierced straight through the dragon's critical weak point. The legendary boss crashed through the treetops. Lin Jai stood amidst the swirling smoke. The system finally confirmed the impossible defeat of the Black Dragon Zodiac. A 500% experience reward flooded in. A massive reward for taking down a legacy monster far exceeding his level. His experience bar flickered repeatedly as he jumped from level 2 to level 4 in the blink of an eye. He hit level 5, receiving a huge amount of attribute points to specialize his build. Along with 3 skill points, he unlocked the prestigious Dragon Slayer title, the mark of a legendary feat. Standing atop the dragon's giant skull, he examined the title's effect, which granted him absolute dominance over all low-level dragons. Lin Jai admitted he hadn't focused on farming monsters, but experience from recent exploits had pushed his level up quite high. Xia Lion's face on the screen was a mask of utter disbelief. When she demanded to know how a single strike could take down a dragon, he calmly explained that it wasn't magic, just careful calculation. His Heaven Eye had precisely identified the location of the inverse scales on the dragon's body. By timing the perfect hit on that weak point and stacking damage buffs from the Dawnblade along with armor penetration, he bypassed all of its defenses. The system screen flashed a series of multipliers. Sword damage increase, critical bonus, defense-ignoring effects. Everything stacked at once. Just one clean, destructive sword strike was enough to exceed the dragon's maximum HP, ending the boss fight in a heartbeat. Xia Lion panicked on the screen, asking how he could be sure that those low-probability buffs would trigger exactly when he needed them. He replied with a confident smile, telling her that walking the line between life and death was just part of being a master. Now that the adrenaline had cooled, he turned his attention to the massive amount of attribute points he received from jumping to level 5. The character status screen displayed basic stats, with 15 unallocated points waiting to be poured into his main attributes. He poured most of his points into strength, bringing it to 16 to ensure he could one-shot common mobs easily. He added 1 point to stamina, just enough to meet the minimum requirements of his current gear and avoid being killed in a single hit. Agility was increased significantly to 10, because he knew he would need extra speed and precision for more complex maneuvers later. With the core build established, he decided to completely ignore secondary stats. He would rather master his strengths than be a mediocre jack-of-all-trades. The updated status screen showed a much more balanced and assassin-like profile. With his physical strength nearly doubled, he took a moment to admire the feeling of new power flowing through his avatar, feeling better prepared for what was to come. Next was the skill list, which offered many combat options from simple sweeps to heavy hits. He prioritized Berserk, an active skill that traded constant HP loss for a massive boost in speed and raw damage. He clenched his fist as the red aura of the new skill pulsed around him rhythmically, knowing this was an important prerequisite for advancing to the high-level Berserker class. With his second skill point, he invested further into Grip Strength III, a skill that allowed him to literally snatch weapons out of an enemy's hands. The system tooltip described in detail the new bonus, treating his bare-handed strength check as double whenever he initiated a weapon snatch. With his third and final choice, he bet on a skill that most players would ignore. Throw. The skill simply allowed him to throw his weapon to deal basic damage at a distance. Xia Lion on the screen nearly fell over laughing at his choice, as she considered it a trash agility skill. Lin Jai didn't defend himself. He knew that to a normal player looking at the basic description, it certainly looked useless. Most warriors avoided it due to the high agility requirement, and even those who qualified didn't want to risk losing their primary weapon. If you threw your sword and didn't retrieve it quickly, you would become a sitting duck in the middle of the battlefield. But he knew a secret that the game didn't explicitly state. Throw is only a trash skill if you understand the mechanics mechanically. Most people imagine ranged combat limited to bows and crossbows, thinking that is the only choice for a warrior. They were stuck thinking about later updates with guns and cannons, completely ignoring what was right in front of them. In his eyes, a player who understands the system doesn't need to carry separate ranged weapons, because warriors already have the highest strength stat in the game. They are actually the most suitable people for the throw skill. Xia Lion looked at him as if he had grown a second head, trying to process the idea that his own hands would be his ranged arsenal. He only replied with a knowing look, confident because he was holding a trump card that no one in this timeline knew about yet. She told him not to call things trash so casually. Obviously, she was missing the irony as he pointed to his grip strength stat. The hidden truth is that high grip strength provides a massive multiplier to the throw skill. transforming a basic move into a god-tier attack. By combining these two trash skills into a custom combo, he created a technique that he named Penetrating Rainbow, a giant red energy bullet streaking through the air, causing catastrophic damage to distant targets with absolute precision. The system congratulated him for the creative combo, officially recording the new move under the name he had given it. With this one trick, he had transformed himself from an ordinary melee fighter into a top-tier ranged threat. Zia Lion looked at him through the screen, admitting she had never seen anyone with his level of foresight and judgment. She finally conceded that he deserved the reward and said it was time for him to receive his due. Zia Lion leaned back with a smug smile, promising to hand over 10 silver coins as soon as they returned to town. Lin Jai was momentarily taken aback, realizing their original agreement had been far less than 10 silver coins. She explained that the impressive performance with the Dawnblade had made her respect him, making him worthy of higher pay. But she quickly added a condition, sticking out her tongue playfully while breaking her promise to resign as the manager of Dark Street. Lin Jai's jaw dropped in shock as he realized she was actually breaking her word right in front of him. He remembered his previous life. He couldn't recall any NPC being so unpredictable and manipulative with their own requirements. Zia Lion laughed loudly through the screen, reminding him that as the leader of Dark Street, she had the right to do whatever she wanted. Annoyed, Lin Jai still demanded his money, deciding it was best to never do business with her again. He walked away with an angry expression, thinking to himself that if she became a villain later, it was entirely her own fault. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet subsided, and he fell into a dark, rocky gorge. He fell freely, debris raining down around him as he plunged into the depths hidden beneath the dragon's lair. He landed in a vast, silent room, illuminated by a faint, ethereal light from above. Looking around at the exquisite ancient architecture, he realized he had accidentally stumbled into a secret dungeon, Zia Lion's treasure. His eyes widened as he remembered this was the legendary location that players had spent an entire season searching for in his past life. Yet here he was, finding it purely by accident. Lin Jai observed the treasure, but there was no gold, silver, or legendary gear here. Only a pile of old, dusty toys and torn rag dolls, items often associated with a child's childhood. He paused, his eyes falling on a framed photo hanging on the stone wall. He stood alone amidst the mountain of stuffed toys, looking down at the photo that seemed out of place in a gang boss's treasure. The photo showed a joyful young purple-haired girl hugging Oliver Green, the mayor of Meltown. The realization hit him. Zia Lion wasn't just a boss. She was actually the mayor's daughter. A heavy boot slammed down onto a man's head. The sound of the collision echoed throughout the cold room. Zia Lion crouched on a pile of wooden crates, looking down at the intruder who had just discovered her past. Lin Jai looked up at her, realizing that all the protective orders from the mayor were just a father's way of trying to protect his daughter. Zia Lion turned away with bitterness, silently cursing her damn old man. She jumped down from her high position, landing lightly on the stone floor. She argued that realizing the brutal reality early on in the beginner village was a lesson every player needed to learn. Her eyes narrowed intensely, asking if having that clarity wasn't a good thing. Lin Jai raised his hand, admitting he wanted to agree with her, but he had to oppose her core philosophy. He looked straight at her, questioning exactly what gave her the right to decide who was strong and who was weak. Zia Lion was silent, her sharp eyes fixed on him while listening to his challenge. The warrior smiled, pointing at himself, and asked point-blank if she thought he was someone who stood on the side of strength. She admitted she liked this question, promising that the answer would soon become clear. Lin Jai held up a finger to set new conditions. If he won, the reward would remain, but she had to resign as manager of Dark Street. He told her to live by her own law of the jungle. If she lost, she would have to obey his every command. She replied with a mocking smile, asking what the price would be if he were the one to fall. The protagonist told her that would never happen, and then tossed the greatsword back to Zia Lion with a sharp, confident motion. Purple light flared as Zia Lion grabbed her blade, declaring that since he knew her secret, she now had every reason to kill him. She mocked him, pointing out that even if he were strong enough to kill dragons, he was still standing there without a weapon. Lin Jai didn't back down. He activated Berserk, and a searing orange flame aura flared up around him. The skill started draining his blood, but in exchange, it granted massive speed and destructive power. Zia Lion lunged forward, her purple sword trailing light as she aimed for a critical strike. Lin Jai moved like a shadow, the speed of the Berserk state allowing him to keep up with her high-speed movements. She slashed down with crushing force, intending to end the fight right there. Despite the danger, the warrior remained focused, his eyes flashing with the intensity of the activated skill. A shockwave rippled out when he caught her glowing purple blade with his bare hands. Zia Lion's jaw dropped in shock. She couldn't understand how he could block her sword while unarmed. He roared while performing a perfect parry. His terrifying grip strength held her critical blade firmly in place. The collision between the two forces created a dazzling energy explosion that filled the treasury. The force flung her back into the pile of wooden crates, while Lin Jai stood majestically amidst the ruins. She was injured and struggling to breathe. She wondered if even her sword had to admit his overwhelming power. He stood tall over her like a dark shadow, declaring that only the strong had the right to set the rules. Zia Lion still wouldn't surrender. She pulled herself out of the rubble with desperate resilience, lunging again with the purple sword. Her body surrounded by crackling energy aura. Lin Jai switched to a flexible fighting stance, his aura flaring as he declared that he was the strongest here. Zia Lion screamed that absolute power was the only truth of this world. He blocked her attack easily, nodding in acknowledgement that for most players, this world was just a game where nothing mattered. He pointed out that in their eyes, no one actually cared whether an NPC lived or died. Lin Jai's face hardened as he looked down at his opponent, declaring that for him, this world wasn't just data. That was a truly bloody lie. Zia Lion was caught off guard, her eyes wide with confusion as she asked what the hell he was talking about. He recalled the past, the time he witnessed a colder and more desperate reality than anything she had ever known, which made him reject her law of the jungle. His mind drifted to a quest from long ago, when a broken carriage lay amidst the ruins of a forest road after a brutal monster attack. A digital notification appeared in his memory, a random event where he had to defeat a goblin raid party to save a kidnapped fairy. In this memory, a younger Lin Jai was standing with a team consisting of high-level players. He remembered the scene of a young fairy girl tied up and trembling on the ground, tears streaming down her face. One veteran player said the rescue was complete, and they had received their reward, then wondered what to do with this NPC. Another player, a guy in a red cloak, drew a sharp dagger and suggested that if they let her go, she could cause trouble later. He stood over the crying fairy girl with a sick smile, arguing that they should kill her right now to avoid triggering an alarm later. The girl raised her head in utter terror when the vicious player reminded everyone that NPCs simply respawn after they die. He licked his lips, his face turning truly monstrous as he suggested trying a different flavor by slaughtering a helpless girl. Lin Jai watched in silence, his eyes narrowing as tension in the team reached a boiling point. Another teammate placed a firm hand on his shoulder, warning that these guys were powerful gold farmers who could easily kick him out of the party. He told Lin Jai to just look away, saying some people only play games to find sick pleasure. That guy even reminded him that he had a sister at home who desperately needed money for medical treatment. Lin Jai heard the girl's desperate pleas echoing in his head, drowning out the cold logic of his teammates. The guy in the red cloak raised his sword high, telling Lin Jai to just close his eyes and pretend not to see anything. In a flash of steel and blood, Lin Jai acted first, stabbing his sword through the chest of the vicious player to protect the NPC. The rest of the team stood frozen in shock. They couldn't believe someone would actually kill a pro player just to save a piece of game data. He let his sword drop into the ground, pondering how that single choice had brought him his first red name in life. A red system warning flared, confirming Lin Jai had officially entered a red name status for player killing. He left that day without another thought. His body had acted much faster than his survival instinct. As he left the shocked party, he muttered that this situation was fundamentally wrong and someone had to make a choice. He understood the system's logic that eventually a new fairy would replace her, but he couldn't accept such coldness. His gaze rested on the girl terrified on the ground, wondering what would actually happen to this specific version of her. He argued that because the game's rules seemed to tolerate such pure evil, he had no choice but to intervene. He swung his greatsword with intense conviction, declaring he would judge this world by his own moral compass. His face was a mask of cold determination, as he challenged anyone who thought his rules were unacceptable to step forward and try to kill him. He stood tall over Zia Lion, his overwhelming presence asking exactly what gave her the right to decide how others should live. He blocked a heavy strike, asserting that his rights came from his willingness to draw his sword, even for the smallest spark of goodwill. Zia Lion attacked frantically while he exposed the hidden parts of her soul, the pain, the rebellion, and the memories she tried to hide. He parried her desperate counterattacks, acknowledging that while he couldn't fully empathize with her, he understood her fear of loss. Lin Jai pointed out the hole in her logic, saying her methods only succeeded in hurting those who truly cared about her. She screamed for him to shut up, her composure completely shattered as she swung her sword with everything she had left. He blocked her attack with a thunderous parry, the force of the collision creating a blinding white burst of light between them. At that moment, he detected a fatal opening in her stance, his sharp eyes locked onto the weak point. The warrior prepared to deliver the finishing blow, his hand gripping the heavy sword hilt as it began to glow with power. Zia Lion could only watch in terror as he said he would teach her a lesson, just like teaching a naughty child. He swung the heavy scabbard with crushing force, intending to break her spirit once and for all. The blow landed true, sending the gang leader crashing to the floor as tears finally welled up and spilled from her eyes. She collapsed to her knees, the titled Dark Crevice Administrator flickering above her head as she broke down in defeat. Lin Jai stood tall, looking down with a steady expression as a voice from below finally conceded defeat. Zia Lion remained kneeling on the ground, her eyes wide with shock as she stared at the massive object that had just struck her. She gasped in disbelief, asking how the Night Walker's scabbard could even exist when the sword was never designed to have one. Lin Jai began to walk over, placing his hand on the darkened, notched scabbard, and asked if that sword had been a gift from Mayor Green. He sheathed the weapon with a sharp click, explaining that Night Walker did indeed have a scabbard, and that he had discovered this secret within her own treasure hoard. Zia Lion denied his claim, her face twisting as she insisted that she had no need for a scabbard, and that compromise only bound her will. He stood over her, his red cloak fluttering slightly in the wind as he explained that Mayor Green's true intention was to teach her how to restrain her wild instincts. A subtle smile appeared on his lips as he prepared to reveal the true name of the power driving him, while the camera zoomed in on Zia Lion's eyes, reflecting her inner turmoil as the word goodwill hung heavily in the air. The story flashed back 30 minutes to the large wooden building where the town mayor resided. Inside the office, Lin Jai shook hands with Oliver Green, the town mayor, a man with a signature yellow mustache and round glasses. Lin Jai looked slightly indifferent as he quoted his price for the quest, demanding exactly 10 silver coins in exchange for his help. Mayor Oliver Green laughed joyfully, immediately agreeing and finalizing the deal. Lin Jai congratulated himself on his cleverness, nodding as he realized that by triggering this hidden quest, the silver he'd lost to Charlene had finally returned to his pocket. He looked into the distance with satisfaction, pleased that his good deeds were beginning to pay off in more ways than one. The massive scabbard remained firmly planted in the ground, a silent testament to his philosophy that a sword is sharpest when it remains sheathed. He looked back at the kneeling girl and called her by the name she used in town, Zia Lion. A faint, genuine smile appeared on her face, signaling a change in her stubborn attitude. She admitted that losing to a player like him wasn't so bad and acknowledged that his title, Blade of Dawn, was well-deserved. She declared that the era of Dark Street was over, and from now on, she would only be known as Zia Lion of Melttown. One of her henchmen, a man with spiky blue hair and a thick mustache, panicked at the news and asked how they were supposed to make a living now. Zia Lion flashed a cunning smile, suggesting they switch to the loan shark business, leaving Lin Jai to wonder if things had truly changed at all. She added that the money would be reinvested into maintaining public order, allowing her to claim that she was performing good deeds of her own. Lin Jai smirked, nodding that the mayor would surely be happy to hear that the area around the town was finally being protected, while a bright system notification appeared before him, confirming the completion of the hidden quest and a massive reputation boost in Melttown. Sunlight bathed the bustling town square, where players and NPCs went about their daily routines. Lin Jai left the scene, nodding to himself. Having returned the Night Walker sword, he was once again without a decent weapon. A brief memory of the match flashed back, the moment his previous greatsword had been smashed by Zia Lion into a simple wooden stick. He raised the old wooden branch, remarking that its base damage was far too low for his current level. He navigated the crowded streets, realizing the most urgent task now was to find a weapon capable of withstanding the battles to come. Suddenly, a group of players in the center of town began shouting that they were quitting the game and clearing out their inventories. The crowd grew interested, as the players claimed that a super-rare heirloom artifact was looking for a new, destined owner. Two men stood on a platform, presenting a glowing, massive red sword, claiming it was the legendary sword of Karsi Mel. Lin Jai paused, his eyes narrowing as he recognized the name of the legendary sword saint who had once wielded that blade. An imposing image of the sword saint Karsi Mel appeared, a warrior surrounded by golden flames, whose title had even given Melttown its name. The heirloom weapon stood tall in the middle of the square, though Lin Jai looked at it with skepticism, thinking it was nothing more than a useless piece of decor. The players around him had been hooked, whispering in awe that a genuine heirloom artifact was being sold in the novice village. He observed the crowd, knowing that those who had never seen the real thing would mistake this item for something incredibly powerful. A burly, dark-skinned player named Zaro, with messy brown hair, stepped forward to address the crowd, playing the role of the generous donor, claiming he wasn't selling the sword but giving it away for free to anyone who wanted it. Zaro's story began with him accidentally drinking poison and losing several levels due to bad luck. As if his luck wasn't bad enough, the next day he fell headlong into a lake in a ridiculous accident. But unexpectedly, when his teammates tried to pull him up, they discovered a mysterious sword lying at the bottom of the lake. The sword seemed to emit a mysterious aura, and thinking luck was finally smiling on them, both men frantically looked for a way to fish it out. Afterward, they brought the sword to a bald old man's pawn shop, but he dismissed it as useless junk, valuing the hard-won sword at a mere 10 copper coins. Desperate, the duo decided to use this piece of trash as bait, hopping to recoup their losses. Standing before the crowd in the square, Zaro pointed to the glowing sword and announced the rules of the competition he had concocted. Jabba stood behind him with a confident smile, arms crossed, while Zaro challenged anyone in the crowd to an unarmed bout. A player nearby wearing a horned Viking helmet gasped in disbelief at the prospect of winning a free heirloom artifact. Lin Jai stood at the edge of the crowd, rubbing his chin and considering carefully whether he should intervene in this blatant scam. He looked down at the wooden branch in his hand, speculating that the power of the world tree might allow him to combine his broken weapon with the heirloom sword to create an unexpected effect. A giant player with messy brown hair and the barbarian class label stepped out, his strength stat of 18 glowing in the digital window. The barbarian smiled with absolute confidence, certain that his superior strength would easily defeat the scrawny opponent sitting across from him. Zaro sat at the arm wrestling table, a cunning look on his face as he demanded a 1 silver fee from any challenger who lost. The barbarian looked down at Zaro with contempt, noting the opponent's base strength stat was only 12 and was sure of a quick victory. From the outside, Lin Jai watched the match begin, nodding at the barbarian's arrogant smile as the two prepared to engage. Their hands locked together with a sharp pop, and Zaro's eyes narrowed as he activated his secret ability, Curse of Silent Weakness. Purple energy surged from Zaro's hand, instantly draining the barbarian's power and dropping his stat from 18 to 8. With the curse in effect, Zaro easily slammed the barbarian's hand onto the table, his face twisted into a sneering grin. The barbarian collapsed in despair, lamenting the loss of all his assets, while Jabba stood over him, boasting. Lin Jai finally stepped forward, his expression calm but sharp, and asked for a turn at the arm wrestling table. Both Zaro and Jabba froze in astonishment, their eyes widening as they realized the famous Blade of Dawn was standing right in front of them. A darkness covered Zaro's face as he recalled his humiliating past failures. He gritted his teeth in silent rage at the man who had once mocked him. He clenched his fists, his expression turning purely malicious as he welcomed the final chance to settle the score with Lin Jai. Lin Jai looked straight into his eyes with a steady expression, sensing the killing intent radiating from Zaro as the man's eyes began to glow bright red. Jabba watched Lin Jai like a hawk, convinced he was a high-level beta player in hiding, and chuckled to himself, thinking he was about to humiliate a legend of the gaming world. Jabba pointed to the sky, using an old trick to distract everyone, and while all eyes were off the table, Zaro quickly downed an alchemy potion, boosting his strength stat from 12 to 14. Lin Jai kept a confused expression while Zaro mocked him, thinking he was clever and jeering at the idea of modern airplanes existing in a fantasy world. Zaro took his stance, addressed Lin Jai as Blade of Dawn, and told him to prepare to lose, clearly confident that the buffed strength would be enough to win. Zaro's face shifted into demonic mode as he poured all his boosted power into his arm, while Lin Jai simply told him to wait a moment, remaining perfectly calm despite the pressure. He was clearly confident that the strength buffed by the potion would be enough to win. Boom, a massive shockwave swept across the square, and system notifications filled the sky. Zaro's arm was officially broken, and he suffered the most literal disarmed status in combat. When the smoke cleared, a giant hole appeared in a nearby building where Zaro had just been launched. Lin Jai stood on the rubble, looking slightly surprised at his own strength. A notification appeared, explaining that Lin Jai had triggered the enhanced grip effect. Because his strength was so much higher, the game counted the arm wrestling bout as a disarm move in combat, doubling the force. Lin Jai realized he had accidentally broken his opponent's arm by triggering the combat skill. Jabba stood beside him, terrified by what he had just witnessed. The system explained the mechanic. When disarming an unarmed player, the recoil force is applied directly to their entire body, so it was no wonder Zaro turned into a human cannonball. Jabba tried to salvage the situation, calling Lin Jai my brother, destined enemy. But Lin Jai only looked at him with a blank expression. He had no idea who this guy was or what he was talking about. Jabba went crazy, angry that the Blade of Dawn didn't even recognize his face. Lin Jai ignored the outburst and reached for his prize, the glowing Karsi Mel sword. Jabba tried to intervene, claiming that things wouldn't be so simple that he could just walk away with the reward. It was clear he wasn't ready for the scam to end like this, so he started calling for the guards, pointing at Lin Jai and accusing him of intentionally harming his brother. Jabba demanded the guards throw Lin Jai in jail for at least 24 hours for assault, acting as if this had been a cruel attack rather than a lost bet. Lin Jai just looked bored by the theatrics. He had seen plenty of scams, but calling the police after losing a bet was a desperate new low. However, the guards didn't arrest him. Instead, they saluted him respectfully and addressed him as Lord Blade of Dawn. Lin Jai responded familiarly, clearly having a good relationship with local law enforcement, explaining that non-lethal competitions were allowed, so they didn't usually interfere. This wasn't the crime Jabba had expected. He started sweating, realizing that the Blade of Dawn had immense influence with the NPCs, and began to wonder if they were in cahoots. He grew paranoid, wondering if Lin Jai had a secret deal with the game developers. He couldn't fathom how a normal player could have such influence. The thought of NPCs bowing to another player was enough to make Jabba break out in a cold sweat. He completely lost control of the situation. The guard immediately cut Jabba off, pointing out that the contest had been peaceful and there was no intent to cause harm. The guard turned the tables, announcing that Jabba and Zaro were under arrest for scamming and cheating in the game. Jabba was imprisoned for 24 hours on the spot, screaming about being framed and still trying to blame a game bug for his humiliating defeat. He kept screaming that Lin Jai was the real thug, but as the guards dragged him away, Lin Jai just ignored the noise and focused on his new legendary sword. Lin Jai gave them one last piece of advice to stop scamming people, while the system confirmed he officially owned the Karsi Mel sword, a major upgrade to his collection. High above the square, a mysterious figure was observing Lin Jai's departure with interest. It was an old man with a long white beard and a glowing red eye, impressed that someone had actually collected items related to the legend of Karsi Mel. He decided right then that it was time to put this kid to the real test. He wanted to see if Lin Jai was truly worthy of the power he was gathering.